How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this final Monday of July in 2020, in which the Major League Baseball season is underway in earnest? Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming once again, millerandmoulton.com, and brought to you live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Mark, top of the morning to you.
Morning, David. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fine.
Good to hear. Good to hear. You're right. The baseball season is off, and we may or may not have a first-place game tonight on the airwaves.
Right. There you go. There's some authoritative reporting right there.
David, I'm telling you, I'm in. You're not in. I'm in. I told you a while back, I have a ball on DirecTV. I hate boring those of you who have had or have and understand DirecTV. And I am aware of these channels. But they gave me the news mix. So for 2 months, I'd have the most fun going back and forth between a couple of stations and wondering if the world was ending or if everything was okay. Right. But that gets a little tedious and a little cumbersome and a little mentally taxing after a while, particularly that this has been going on for several months. And the mix channel that I've wanted to watch, I've been unable to because they've not been playing baseball. But when they can go 8 wide across the screen and just give me one baseball game after another, and I can choose which volume I want, that's a little slice of heaven right there, David. And I've been watching it. It has been on TVB every day from 1 o'clock on the weekends, 7 o'clock on the weekdays. And last night we're finally done. The 2 last games, the D-backs had come from behind, helping that over bet to beat the Padres, and that was it. Now we've got ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. And I throw on your Mets and the Braves. Quite a game that was. And all of a sudden they show 2 Reds miss game because of illness, and they don't really say why. And I went, And the very next thing they put on the bottom line there on ESPN was 4 Marlins test positive for COVID. I looked up and I looked at my wife and I said, how the hell are they going to finish this season? I know they want to, David. I know they're going to do everything humanly possible to get through this. But with the travel and the hotels and all of the things going on, baseball enjoyed a decent 48 hours.
Yeah, I'd even say 72.
Okay,
like
yeah, because we started Thursday, so you're right, 72 solid hours. And then Sunday happened.
Right. We had the one hiccup on Thursday where a couple hours before the game, Juan Soto, they announced he tested positive, although they're wondering if that was a false positive test. But anyway,
But I could even argue that was okay. Yeah, it was a hiccup, but they caught it. Yep. They got him out, and we played on. See, I actually look at those little things. I certainly don't look at them as negatives, David. If we're able to isolate somebody and move them away from the team, I actually think that we've done our job, or they've done their job. But when you see a report that 4 players have tested positive, they can't leave the hotel, the team doesn't know what they're doing or when they're going to travel, that's a real hiccup. That's a speed bump.
Yeah, that's more than a hiccup. There's no question about it. And with the Nats on Thursday, we found out that they immediately tested everybody on the team as soon as they found out what was going on with Soto. In the Marlins case, it's our understanding that they played yesterday and they're being tested today, is our understanding. Now, if they were tested yesterday, I haven't heard that. But we know that they were kept overnight in Philadelphia, which is interesting. You got 4 players that no one can be around, and then the rest of the team's hanging out in Philly. And Mark, they're going to feel like they're back in the minor leagues again, although instead of traveling by bus, they're going to travel by plane. But they're hanging out in Philly. They're going to wake up. They're going to have breakfast. They're going to get tested. All right. And then they're going to go on a plane and they're going to fly to Miami. and then they're going to go straight to the ballpark, and they're going to get ready to play the Orioles. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
First place on the line in both divisions.
The beauty of early season baseball. Although when it's 60 games,
we're mid-season right now. They've got a 1-game lead in the division. We've only got a month and a half to go, David. What are you talking about? Greatest season ever. Greatest season ever.
I will say this, Mark. Saturday, I watched some baseball. I did. I didn't watch any of the 2 games on Thursday night, and I didn't watch anything on Friday. All right. But on Saturday, when I found out that there was no one outside of Ken Rosenthal from Fox that was actually going to be at the game that they were broadcasting, I'm like, the broadcaster in me, the geek in me, was like, I think I just want to watch and listen to this because I want to see how they're pulling this off. So they had a triple header on Saturday.
Right.
And the first game was Cubs-Brewers. Adam Amin doing the play-by-play, having made the move from ESPN to Fox. And it was his Fox debut. And he was doing play-by-play from the Big Ten Network studios in Chicago. And he was doing the game with A.J. Brzezinski, who was doing color commentary from a studio in Orlando. Okay. And they did the whole digital fan thing.
That was the dumbest thing I've seen so far. No offense. You know what? That was my least favorite. I'm not going to say the dumbest, the worst. I'm just going to say my least favorite because I know they're trying. And I'm not going to critique every little thing we're going to do for the next couple of months while we're in this unknown world of broadcast and say it was dumb. That's not fair. I didn't like that. I thought that was a trial that failed.
I didn't like it either just because I didn't like the fact that, to me, and I don't know if you can do it, if you're going to do it, to me, you have to do it 100% of the time. And I didn't like the fact that when you saw the pitcher throw into the batter, there was obviously nobody in the seats. And on certain camera angles, there would be nothing but empty seats. But if there was one particular camera angle, on that one, they could superimpose the fans. And I'm like, it's kind of silly. That's all. I just thought it was silly. I don't think it's as bad as the new extra inning rule. I think that's a disgrace. But it was just a little silly.
I think they should have called ties after 9, looking back. Okay, I'm not going to. It has been interesting to watch. Skip the fans in the stands, skip the extra innings. You can tell, and I'll try to translate this towards football. Basketball and hockey are doing their fair share of scrimmaging, if you will, and getting ready. It certainly looked at, even with a few baseball games, there were a lot of routine baseball plays that were not executed properly by teams for whatever reason. It was very evident early in that Brewers-Cubs game with the run back, and all of a sudden there's not a defender at first base, and they're able, instead of to get an easy out, to end up with first and second when it should have been a runner on second and one more out. Little things like that. Little, overrunning bases. Just all the little quirky things about baseball that, well, with a few months off and a very abbreviated spring training, some guys making some mental errors.
Yeah, the Nats-Yankees game on Saturday night had 7 errors. The Nats made 5 and 1 going away. It was a strange game. The middle game on Saturday, to me, was the strangest in a way from a broadcasting standpoint, because you had both the play-by-play and the analyst who are based in Los Angeles. The Dodgers were hosting the Giants, and neither one of them were at the ballpark. Instead, they were doing the game from the Fox studios in Los Angeles. And then the nightcap, Joe Buck's in Denver. John Smoltz is in the MLB Network studios in New Jersey. Ken Rosenthal's at the game at Nats Park for the Yanks and the Nats. And there was actually a moment in the game in which something happened. Trey Turner, the shortstop, made an errant throw back to the mound. The pitcher mishandled it, and the Yankee base runner was able to go from first to second because the ball was still in play. But they didn't show it live. All that the camera was on the base runner, and all of a sudden you see the base runner going from first to second. And so Buck is interviewing Max Scherzer. Now remember, Joe's in Denver. Smoltz is in Jersey. Neither one of them saw what happened. We didn't see what happened. Buck has to ask Scherzer, hey, what just happened? And Scherzer says, I don't know. I was looking at the scoreboard where your picture's on it, so I could see you. So I thought.
By the way, my only answer to all this is why I do think distance learning is going to be difficult for the second year. Sorry.
So that part of it, the geek in me, the minor league broadcaster in me was enjoying. Like, man, how are they going to pull this off? Unlike the soccer audio, I have not liked the murmur of the crowd audio that they pretty much have interjected into the soccer broadcast for the last couple months. And then when a goal is scored, they're a couple seconds late and they hit the button and it sounds a little bit like a goal. I thought that Fox, anyway, did an amazing job Saturday. I have no idea if Fox is doing the audio, if this is coming from MLB in New York, and whether or not that this is audio that they've gone through all these different tapes or whether or not they're getting it from video games. I mean, I've heard all kinds of stories as to how it's going to be done league by league. But I thought the audio, the crowd sound was amazing Saturday. How it was seemingly always matched up with what was happening. It seemed to be just the right decibel level and right reaction. And to me, it sounded like a ball game. It didn't sound like fake crowd noise being interjected into a broadcast so that it doesn't sound hollow. So I thought that worked on Saturday. I don't know who did it, but I thought it worked.
I have to say, when I've been watching baseball with sound on, I've paid so little attention to the announcers. I have done what I think you can do, and you've talked about doing in the past. I'm drowning everything out. I'm watching the game. Sometimes I'm doing play-by-play in my head. I'm not listening because I don't want to be ultra critical of something that I'm so excited is back on television. I think I'm just daydreaming happy dreams while I'm watching games right now because I'm not paying a hell of a lot of attention to the sound. Now, I cannot jump in yet and I've not watched a lot of soccer. It was always been background noise for me anyhow. I did see the end of Turned the Golf on yesterday, and they had soccer on every NBC channel right up until 1 o'clock. It was the last day of Premier League.
Right.
And that means relegation. And as they have Arsenal and whoever they were playing on the Golf Channel, Aston Villa is on another channel, and literally, they're doing what we watched the Steelers do at the end of the regular season, sitting on Heinz Field watching the Jumbotron to see if they have a shot at making the postseason. And Aston Villa ends up not being relegated. And the sheer joy of those players not having to get sent down is one of the cooler things that there is, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat for you. You can lose, but still win.
Yeah, there's watching the board to see whether or not you're making the playoffs. There's also watching the board to see whether or not you're being sent to AAA.
Yes. So I have not been as locked into the sound, so I may have to pay a little more attention to that. I have just been thrilled that I've got baseball and golf and things like that on television all weekend.
Well, and I think baseball was basking in the glow until midday yesterday. And then all of a sudden that Marlins story, and I think it has, brought a bit of pause to the sport in which they're all wondering, is this ultimately going to happen to every team? And the next few hours are key because we have to hope, knock wood, cross fingers. I mean, we have to hope it's just the 4. I mean, we have to hope that they don't test and find out that, because that's a lot of guys who were then in contact with a lot of guys, and you have to hope that it's just the 4 of them. And there's already speculation, where did they get it? Did they get it when they were in Miami and take it with them to, because remember, the early part of last week, teams were playing exhibition games. And the Marlins games were in Atlanta. So they flew from Miami to Atlanta, spent a couple of days, played a couple of games against the Braves. We let Mark Melanson know what was going on last week in the one game that he wasn't even at. Right. He had pitched the day before. And so it was like, hey, you guys scored 8 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, and 1 last night, 10-9. He's like, really? Cool. Yeah, kind of cool.
But, we have the Marlins, and you're right, that causes pause. But Mike Moustakas didn't play yesterday, and they didn't give the reason. Felt ill. Well, I'm sorry, when I see felt ill, my mind thinks, COVID, huh? May not be.
Right. Could just not feel 100%. And so the manager decided, okay, well, we'll play somebody else. Give you a day off. Get ready to go tomorrow. Aren't a lot of days off, during this 60-game sprint. It's 60 games in 66 days. So
right,
but get ready.
Right, but you have Moustakas being sick. You have a teammate that tested positive. You have another player who was held out for undisclosed reasons. I mean, that could be 3 in Cincinnati, David. We have 4 in Florida with the Miami Marlins. We could have 3 in Cincinnati.
Right. It could also just be 1. But yes, and Major League Baseball has said, we're not going to tell you. It's the same with the NHL. The NHL has said, injuries and COVID are going to be treated all the same. And the deal is you're not going to get any information. Now, Mark, I do think, listen, we're going to make allowances for that this year. But to me, there's going to have to be a secret meeting at some point here, because sports gambling is going to become more and more prevalent in a legalized way in this country. And information as to who is playing is kind of a big deal. And so there is, to me, if you're going to sign these big deals with these gambling services, I think these gambling services are going to request of these leagues, hey, you're going to have to be more open about this information. Okay. I mean, you're just going to, because we can't be canceling bets after the fact because you've left out something big, just so you know. I mean, we can't have these discrepancies. We can't have all of this, because there can be certain instances in which a bet would get canceled, and or the gambling services would be like, we wouldn't have posted those odds if we had known somebody wasn't playing. We would have lost a lot less money than we ultimately did. You can't do that to us. So I wonder how this is going to go. We know now everybody's going to be able to get away with everything. But I'm wondering going forward if these casinos, these gambling services, if they're going to sit down, they're going to have to work something out with these leagues. You got to give us a little something here. So we're not putting odds on the boards in which we get crushed.
The gambling folks will sure want that. And fascinating to me, David, because I look at hockey first and foremost when you say that. The land of making up injuries. Oh, he broke his arm. Yeah, he's got a problem with his left calf.
Right, lower body injury.
Right. So while the regular season is one thing, and I know hockey is not anywhere near important in terms of this for betting, but it's part of it. They've never done it in the postseason. So now they have to? And I'm with you, David. I get your point entirely, but the leagues have never served their sponsors quite that way. So it is a great question that we will have to wait and see about the answer, because the points you make are absolutely right. We have talked forever about teams wanting to limit the information that goes out.
Yep.
And how much they've taken back in-house with their own team websites, trying to keep some things exclusive to that. And what would be the reason that would precipitate them trying to do more of it? Here it is.
I think that the other leagues are going to be asked by the casinos. They're going to be asked, can you adopt something along the lines of what the NFL has done for all these years? And maybe you don't give the specific reason as to why, but you have to rate players heading into each game on a doubtful, questionable, probable, that we need this information. We need it to set lines. Gamblers need it in order to, come on now. Let's just, I mean, we all know why that's why the injury report has been around for 60 years.
I got you.
We all know why.
And it's easy in football because there's a day for reporting the injuries and then they update it and all those things. But David, Kawhi Leonard, who's on a pitch count and has been for a couple of years, decides he doesn't want to play Thursday against the Pistons on the road.
Right. Maintenance.
Right. They're not going to tell anybody. You're going to find out before the game he's not playing.
Well, that's why I said with the coronavirus, we're not going to find out. I mean, we've got Major League Baseball and the NHL who have both said, listen, we're not telling you anything. If you get it, you get it, but we're not going to divulge it. But I just think going forward that these gambling places are going to, and it's also going to be a little tricky for those of you that gamble. And we know there's a decent number of people listening right now who do, and you're really going to have to pay attention to what's going on, because you're going to get less information, I think, this year than you normally do. And you're going to be caught by surprise, I think, a few more times than you normally are about, wait a minute, so-and-so's not playing? Yeah. I mean, did you see the cryptic tweets that were coming out from the people who were covering the Marlins yesterday? Within an hour of first pitch, I'm hearing there's something going on with the Marlins and there may be some players sick. I'll get you more information when I get it.
Saw some after the fact as we got ready to do some things, for this show. But no, I wasn't. I go into a Twitter blackout sometimes on the weekends, David.
Okay.
I shut it down. So no, I didn't see it. But yeah, that's what we're going to get. And we'll get a lot of it throughout this abbreviated baseball season. And I'm sure in some way we'll start getting it in the NFL circles as camps are opening. For the first time since March, when we return, a starting five with scores.
I'm not giving scores.
What?
Nope. You want to give the scores?
All right, fine. Just another coronavirus sports update on the other side. Miller and Moulton, the starting five. That's next. Thanks for listening. Fox Sports Radio, where we stream at millerandmoulton.com, and you are looking live on twitch.tv.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a bit of
Mark, your microphone is very low.
Okay.
Shorts ahead of us, so sit back, relax, and we'll be underway shortly.
Check 1 2, check 1 2 3 4. Better.
Basketball is about
When we go back on, I'll monitor it and I'll text you again to see if you're low or if you're
okay.
good level.
right here. The season resumes Friday afternoon against the Nets on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
We are Fox Sports. At Banana Republic Factory, we've got hundreds of new arrivals from 1999. Shop summer dresses, bright shirts, easy shorts, and more. Find your nearest store or shop online.
Across the nation, America is moving forward, finding our footing, getting back on our feet. Life continues to open up.
See, bailed on New York there, huh? He's too busy.
Business, and we are
not going to throw out that first pitch. Watch everybody kneel in front of him.
To be there when you need us.
Oh, really?
Open and ready to serve you. Our
He backed out.
personally fit art
Schedule's too
supports
busy.
Are designed to help alleviate, even eliminate, foot, knee, hip, and back pain, and provide comfort, balance, and support. The well-being of our customers, associates, and community is our highest priority. So, we've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand to help America get back on its feet. And just as we have for a quarter century, we're helping to improve the quality of people's lives 2 feet at a time.
Is foot pain making your life miserable? Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
I did, Seth.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martin.
Did you fix your microphone yet, or are you still echoing?
Owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing and replacing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name
Yeah,
you need to
good.
know is
Good.
D.R. Martineau.
Listen to the Dan Patrick Show at work.
Never boring, that's for sure.
Streaming 24/7 at foxsportsfm.com.
We are Fox Sports.
Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger. It's just like the Western Bacon Cheeseburger with charbroiled beef, crispy bacon and onion rings, and topped with tangy barbecue sauce. But we added spicy jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese. We took a burger that was already delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this. Try the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary. Hardee's presents the Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito. Wanted in 42 states on charges of bringing a sweat to the brow of breakfast lovers with low spice tolerance. We start with a made-from-scratch biscuit. And then we add a fluffy omelet full of melted cheese, crispy bacon, and spicy jalapenos. And if you're feeling extra wild, you can get it all wrapped up in a burrito. The Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito are back, only at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information. Or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
It's Kaylee Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. It's summertime, so it's hot. Make sure you change your AC filters every month and have your air conditioners cleaned twice a year by NATE certified mechanics, like my dad. All the mechanics at Kobe Cooling are NATE certified because you deserve the best. If your AC stops working, turn it off and call 239-482-1542 and relax.
Oh, yeah, I got to turn that down.
From there, 24/7, same low prices, never an overtime charge. When you think of air conditioning companies, we hope you'll think of Kobe Cooling. No nonsense, no pressure. We're the company your neighbors use. License CICO 57.
Tigers take 2 of 3 and now host the Royals. I do not need this kind of start out of Detroit.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
.30 on this final Monday morning of July in 2020. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. 479-5551 is how you can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. So you can text or call into the show at 479-5551.
Did get a couple of texts last night, David. Came in this morning to see that there was an 11:06 and an 11:42 p.m. text to the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line last night. Nice. I will not answer those until after the show out of respect for that person's sleep habits. I would have, if I'd have been up here, I was watching John Oliver. That just ended at 11:30. We could have been talking for another half hour.
Look at you, staying up late. I know you had a late night ice cream run yesterday.
No. Full disclosure, all right? If you watched on Twitch last night, we were able to get some Marlins information and get an interview done, and we had to do it last night. Andy Slater said, I don't want to get up. We said, okay. So we did it last night. And in the midst of the interview, getting everything done and trying to get a graphic that I couldn't get placed. It took a little bit longer than I wanted. And what did I miss? The run to Culver's for a frozen custard because they closed at 9 on Sunday.
Man.
My cholesterol thanks you, but the rest of me doesn't.
So you weren't able to go somewhere else? You weren't, no dessert, nothing?
It was over at that point.
Wow. I mean, a couple of suggestions were text to you.
Yeah, but I'm not going to try something new with the chance on a Sunday of that restaurant not being open. Can't just go out and try this cookie. Are you out of your mind? I want a frozen custard.
Well, okay. Just wondering. Time now for
the starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton Starting 5.
Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Mark, the Marlins won 2 of 3 in Philadelphia. They're tied for first with the Braves in the NL East. Mark, you want scores? They beat the Phillies yesterday 11-6. That's the good news. The bad news for their players. Before the game, it was found have tested positive for the coronavirus. They're going to stay in Philadelphia potentially for 14 days. The team stayed in Philadelphia overnight, getting tested. They will fly back late this morning to Miami, where they are currently scheduled to play the first-placed Orioles, because Baltimore took 2 of 3 from the Red Sox over the weekend. That game, pregame at 6:30, first pitch a little after 7 o'clock. If it happens, and you want more scores, Mark, Baltimore 7-4 winners over the Red Sox.
Yes, they were.
Yesterday. No one started the season 3-0.
Nope.
Everybody already has a loss. The 72 Dolphins are safe. The Rays are 2-1 on the season. They took 2 of 3 from the Jays. Speaking of the Jays, it is determined they will not play their first home game in Buffalo until August 11th. That's 2 weeks from tomorrow. So the Jays will spend the first 2.5 weeks of the season truly on the road. And then they will make their home in Buffalo. That gives the Jays organization a couple of weeks to improve the lighting in the stadium and also to improve the locker room situation. They're not big enough, never mind nice enough, so the Jays are going to invest in the AAA ballpark in Buffalo, and they'll stay on the road until Tuesday, August 11th before that happens. There was some news out of Houston yesterday. The Chronicle reported that Verlander's out for the year. Justin Verlander and the Astros tweeted out, "Not so fast, my friends." A strained forearm in his pitching arm. He is being shut down for 2 weeks, and then he's going to be evaluated. But Verlander and the Astros both think that this is not an end-of-the-season type of injury and that he can be back in late August or early September. But Mark, Corey Kluber, Clayton Kershaw, Steven Strasburg, Justin Verlander, all of them either shut down before they started or shut down during their start or immediately after their first start of the season. Strasburg, Verlander, Kluber, Kershaw. This was one of the things talked about 3-4 weeks ago when they were scurrying to put a season together, and would pitchers in particular be able to avoid injury? You're ramping up so quickly after being shut down for 3+ months. For whatever reason, 4 veteran pitchers have all had their issues early in this season. Marlins are 2-1. Rays are 2-1. NFL training camps open tomorrow. Giants decided they don't want to see their kicker anymore. Aldrich Rosas, who made the Pro Bowl a couple years ago, he was arrested in mid-June for a hit-and-run accident in California, reportedly under the influence. The Giants said, yeah, we've got no use for you anymore, and so they cut him. Did you follow the Lou Williams story over the weekend? Lou Williams plays for the Clippers. Lou Williams had a funeral. And so a week or so ago, he requested, hey, can I leave the bubble and go attend to this family matter? And the NBA said, sure. Well, on his way back from the funeral, Lou Williams stopped in Atlanta, went to a strip club. He claims he went for the wings.
Don't we all?
Well,
I mean, Magic City's wings, I hear, are terrific.
My understanding is, first off, the strip clubs in Atlanta, are top shelf, right?
David, I had frequented the majority of those in the early 90s when they were still regarded as some of the finest in the United States. In fact, after the 1994 Turner Cup Championship, there was a party held at one of those places where the cup was there. I don't remember anybody eating food.
Well, Mark, they've diversified since then.
No, they had a nice spread then. It looked good. No one touched it.
Right.
It wasn't the wings I was interested in.
I understand that. But apparently Lou was. And Lou went to this particular strip club for the wings. But
sure, it wasn't.
Sure,
it was the chicken wings or the chicken breasts.
No, he claims wings.
And figure there it would be more of a breast thing.
Yeah, I understand. There's a couple of problems. One,
maybe
a few people recognized him, and they took pictures and posted them on Twitter.
Was he eating wings in any of the pictures?
That I don't know.
Good, just a question.
That I don't know. And the second thing was that the NBA was following him because they're not just trusting that these guys are going home and doing what they're saying that they're doing, and then they're going to fly back. I mean, the NBA's invested $150 million. $150 million the NBA has invested in this bubble. So when you ask for permission to leave, well, they're sending people with you. And so somehow Lou Williams thought he could just stop in Atlanta, pick up some food, socialize for a little bit, and then eventually make his way back to Orlando. The NBA was not amused, and so for you, Lou Williams, you will be in quarantine for 10 days. Most everybody else, when they leave, 4 days, we test you. If you test negative, you're good. You, sir, you're going to get 10 days. If I can be serious for a moment, I am surprised the league didn't suspend them.
I'm with you.
To make a statement besides the 10-day quarantine, then say, oh, by the way, when that quarantine's done, you're suspended a week.
The only thing I would wonder, David, is when they worked out whatever they worked out with the NBA PA, if they can for that. My guess is that they wanted to, and someone said, I get it. I know you want to, but it's never going to fly with the union.
Tom Thibodeau was named head coach of the Knicks over the weekend. The former Bulls and Timberwolves head coach gets a 5-year deal. WNBA season opened at Bradenton at IMG Academy over the weekend. So far, knock on wood, so good. Our friend Nikki Collins, Atlanta Dream Team, got off to a 1-0 start. They beat Dallas yesterday, 105-95. PGA Tour mark Michael Thompson birdied 2 of his last 3 holes for a 2-shot win of the 3M Open in Minneapolis. It's his second career tour win, his first in 7 years. He jumps from 151st to 39th in the FedEx Cup with a $1.1 million paycheck.
As honest of a post-round interview as you'll ever get. He broke down a little bit. And it was funny, kind of broke down about how excited he was and talked about not having his wife and kids there and how much that would have been. But this is a guy, this is no different really than George McNeil, who made the cut and finished. I think he ended up making a double late, 62nd, 63rd, something like that. But this really is not a whole hell of a lot different than George McNeil winning in terms of where Thompson's status was. And he just talked about to know that, one, he gets to play in the majors, which will be the Masters in 2021.
Right.
Because the Masters field is already set. But he gets in the PGA, he gets in the Open, and he said his last amateur tournament, I think the O2 Amateur, was at Winged Foot. And he said, it's the greatest golf course that there is in the world. It's my favorite golf course, and I've always wanted to play a tournament there. So the fact that I get to go back and play in the Open makes this even more special. But good for him to hold on, because early he made a couple of bogeys, and Faldo said it. It was the one thing he did say in the broadcast. You had a bunch of guys in the 3M who don't win, don't know how to win. And what were they going to do? And Thompson lost the lead early to Tony Finau and got his act together and played really well yesterday to earn that, and definitely earn that victory.
Tony Finau, one of 9 golfers tied for third, 3 shots back. He is still looking for that first PGA Tour win, and so are Miller and Moulton, because we've got a lot invested on Finau in our fantasy golf team.
Not to mention it was my pick over Moulton, and he has been just giving it to me about it for a while.
Well, I mean, he has given us 2 top 10s in the last 2 weeks, but he's also been in position to win the last 2 weeks. College football news. Don't be alarmed. Michigan State and Rutgers are both in 14-day quarantine. Don't be alarmed. Okay, you need good news? I'll give you good news. Oklahoma moved their season opener up a week. That's right, up a week. The Sooners are going to play Missouri State on August 29th. And there had been talk of this so that they could play Missouri State, then have the next week off, take inventory, test everybody, et cetera, and then get ready to host Tennessee September 12th. The NCAA on Friday, Mark, was rumored to be making their decision about the fall sports season. They passed. They said, we'll reevaluate this in a couple of weeks. Meanwhile, the ASUN made their decision, at least about the start of the fall season, and there's not going to be any games in soccer and volleyball and a few other sports until mid-September. So the ASUN, and that affects FGCU, obviously, they are pumping the brakes at least a little bit. Did you see the hockey story that emerged yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
John Chayka was the general manager of the Arizona Coyotes,
who are in the postseason.
Yeah, they play Nashville beginning Sunday in a best-of-5 to play their way into the full postseason. And that's a big deal for the Coyotes, who have been in the quote-unquote playoffs like 3 times in their history since they've moved there. And John Chayka was given this job 4 years ago at the ripe old age of 26, with 1 year of experience in an NHL front office, but he founded an analytics company. And so he was given the job as general manager. He's the guy who engineered the big Taylor Hall trade during last offseason. Chayka just quit on the eve of the team flying to Edmonton to get ready for the postseason. He claims that, the situation that was created by ownership just made staying here impossible. Ownership, meanwhile, is like, no, he wanted to leave for another job. We said, no, you've got 4 years left on your contract. And he said, well, the heck with it, I quit. So this is going to end up getting mediated because the team sent out a scathing release.
I've never seen, David, look, at you and I both did not get the line on ours after being fired. Our former employer, there were 2 ways you went out. In a burst of flames like David and I, or with we wish him well in his future endeavors at the end of your email that you're no longer employed. John Chayka has quit as the general manager. This is the statement. Has quit as the general manager and president of hockey operations of the Arizona Coyotes. The club is disappointed in his actions and his timing as the Coyotes prepare to enter the NHL hub city of Edmonton, where the team will begin postseason play for the first time since 2012. Chayka has chosen to quit on a strong and competitive team, a dedicated staff, and the Arizona Coyote fans, the greatest fans in the NHL. I mean, that's that's the biggest blatant lie in the history of sports. The Florida Panthers went, you said that?
First off, I mean, they were doing fine until that last fragment there. The greatest hockey fans in the world. Are you serious? I mean, we don't even know if you have hockey fans. Okay, the greatest fans in the world. Really, really, really better than Toronto, better than Chicago. All right. I mean, come on now. Take it easy. You're the Arizona Coyotes. This franchise has been hanging by a thread for 20 years. The league owned it for a year and a half, for goodness sakes, before they could peddle it off on somebody.
I mean, if you just throw in to a fan base that is starved for a winner. There are 67 other ways to include your fans in this statement without having to lie to the entire world.
Right.
That's all.
That was his Dan Gilbert little moment there, a part of the release. He was doing fine until he said, comma, and the greatest hockey fans in the world. What? Take it easy there, big fella.
By the way, just a little hockey thing there. Sorry. I argue with my son all the time because he hates the Carolina Hurricane fans because he hates the Hurricanes, and he lives in Raleigh, which is tough. And their fans, I think, are really good. I think it just bothers him that, they yell at him when he wears Red Wing stuff to games.
Right.
But they had like a procession of cars sending their team off at the airport yesterday. They treat the Hurricanes like they're a college football team.
Hey, it's their team, man.
I know, and I think that's cool.
Team they have.
Right.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I think those little things, those little quirky things they do are minor league-esque, collegiate-esque, and they're terrific for their team and their fan base.
And I actually think it works in hockey. I think hockey players love it.
I know they do. The majority of them do. 6 or 8 are going to make fun because they make fun of everything. They're you and I.
Well, yeah, they're also the guys, they're veterans. They've played for a couple of original 6 franchises, and they look around and they go, wow, this is very Peoria Rivermen-like. But, everybody else thinks it's cool. And that, Mark, is...
The starting 5. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Mark, if you really want to know, the Indians beat the Royals 9-2. The Orioles over the Red Sox 7-4. Twins 14-2 over the White Sox. Mariners over the Astros 7-6. Pirates beat the Cardinals 5-1. Tigers 3-2 over the Reds. Yankees 3-2 over the Nats. Marlins 11-6 over the Phillies. And the Braves beat the Mets like 137-1.
Wow, they just kept scoring. I couldn't even get to that Dodger game. I had to go to the deuce. That thing lasted so long.
Cubs 9-1 over the Brewers. Rockies 5-2 over the Rangers. A's 6-4 over the Angels. Diamondbacks 4-3 over the Padres. 14-1 the Braves won. Giants ended up splitting the 4-game series with the Dodgers 3-1. There's your scores. You feel better now?
I do. And let me just add something because my phone blew up and the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line blew up a little bit. Yes, Tony Finau has a win. It's not in 2020. So that means nothing to David and I because it is a 2020 PGA pool. So where David and I are upset is the fact that he has had plenty of opportunities this year to win on tour. He has not won this year on tour. And that is the angst that Miller and Moulton have.
Right.
So we apologize. This is completely personal. This is about gambling.
Yeah, we're being selfish here.
Very selfish.
Name of the show's Miller and Moulton. We took a moment to be selfish. Our bad. Miller and Moulton. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Daniel Snyder comes into focus. Now, he's not directly a
So,
article, but I think
Andy Slater, and that's it?
When you say, well, he's not
I sent him a text going, I'm assuming it's just Andy Slater. And I'm assuming we're running the Marlins Orioles tonight. Pre-game at 6:30, first pitch 7:05. I go, please confirm when you wake up.
Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Want to talk about stadium dry
He apparently sleeps till about 7:30.
Good for him. I got up at 4:43 and switched the alarm from the 5:05 alarm to the 5:16 alarm just for 11 more minutes. So I can get a whole half hour in.
Look, you're going to love Stadium Dry Cleaners and discounts.
It's been going there for years. What? It's their grand opening?
Multiple locations.
Right.
Publix at Daniels Crossing in Fort Myers, the Gateway Trade Center.
And he won in 2016. It was the Puerto Rico Open. I mean, I think McNeil won that for crying out loud, or Lamley. It's not like it's a real event game. As my buddy texts me, he goes, he did win the Puerto Rico in 16, which is the equivalent of winning the Yingling. Well, that's a pretty good line.
It is. Does that count as an official tour?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know because at the time, that's directly opposite a WGC event.
It doesn't matter. Still all the same tour perks.
Gotcha. But I think that's one of those that doesn't get you in the Masters.
Doesn't get you in the Masters, but it gets you your 2 years.
Just $199 per month. That's right. A new SUV for $199 per month. Bad credit, first-time buyer, unemployed, overwhelmed, upside down. During the credit stimulus event, all credit situations are welcome. It's first come, first served. So arrive early and be prepared to drive home today. But hurry, because when $1 million in credit stimulus runs out, this sale
I was thinking of the Goodwill Hunting scene when I saw you doing Mad Dog yesterday, David. So, how many guys did you call first? Yeah, him and him. And where was I fifth? What was I in the... I'm waiting for you to do that to him one time. I know you won't because you just want the work.
Yeah, no. The PD had said a week or so ago, he goes, I think I'm going to have a shift for you over the weekend. And then it was pretty late in the week, though. It was Thursday or Friday that he emailed me, and he said, I got 3 to 7 open Sunday. Okay.
Call 239-332-1441.
Did you see this little Tua story?
No.
So Tua was asked.
Like Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. You were right.
Asked what he.
I like these. When I go to Subway,
all these questions. I think I want to hear it. His guilty pleasure was Shania Twain.
Oh yeah.
And she responded to him.
Well, that's like 2 months ago.
Oh, is it? I just. Okay, yes it is. Yeah, it is. No, it's about a month ago. Someone did a story on it today. Oh, I didn't see it the first time. I just saw the little story. I was like, that's kind of funny.
Want to see more? Go to myshowerdoor.com.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank.
Poll question.
Center for Men's Health. Your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood, and the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves.
Do you want to go baseball with all of this? I don't know if we want to play the will they finish the season game, because I think they will, but what it'll look like, I have no idea.
For a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home, and that'll put you in a good mood too. C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient.
Could ask people if they've watched any baseball.
And with locations all up and down West Florida.
Have you watched any baseball, yes or no? We could do non-sports here, which might not be a bad place to go.
Now we're getting somewhere.
I've got sports here.
You're live.
Five minutes before the top of the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 479-5551, 479-5551. Mark, while we work on our poll question for today, our poll question for the weekend was baseball for 2020 has expanded the playoffs to 16 teams. What do you think of it? Love it. Only got 16%. It's 2020. Why not? That one. 63%. But 1 out of every 5 chiming in thought it was a stupid gimmick. So 4 out of 5 liked it in some way, shape, or form. Either, yeah, it's okay, or hey, I really like it. But 1 out of 5 said, this is stupid.
You know, I think I could line up a poll question today and just say, what's worse, the 16 teams making the playoffs or a runner starting on second in the 10th inning?
Boy, I don't know anybody that likes it.
And I would rather they do a tie. I don't have this huge problem with it. They've got to get these things over with. And look, it's 2020. I'm not going to sit there and lose any sleep over. What do we have? 11? What percent of the games go to extra innings?
Not that many. Not that many. It's a low number. The other thing is, in terms of usually 85+% of the games are decided within 12 innings. I mean, you get very few games that go beyond the 12th. And I think 3 out of every 4 are decided in the 10th or 11th inning. But they just want to make sure that nobody's playing a 15, 16, 18 inning game this year. Maybe that's our poll question, Mark. We asked people, which would you rather have? The base runner on second to start extra innings, or we call it a tie after 11 or 12?
And we like outcomes in this country by and large, David. We like results. We are not a country of sports fans that like ties.
Right.
So I think, quirky extra innings or a tie, what would you prefer for the 2020 baseball season? Because at the end of the day, we just don't like ties.
Attention, Southwest Florida.
Coach, hang on one second, David. Coach, I understand that you coach lacrosse, and I understand your passion for lacrosse. But do me a favor. When you're saying what sports did you watch this weekend and you put baseball, lacrosse, NBA, and golf, why don't you put the Women's Soccer League on there too? Because I watched the Women's Soccer League, and I don't think lacrosse is on television. Every once in a great while, I see a highlight on SportsCenter because now I put that back on because they're playing sports. And I did see a guy throw a behind-the-back goal. It was, I think, play 4. So come on with the lacrosse. I mean, you need to get with college wrestling guy, and you guys can start going back and forth with this. All right, I'm done.
As for how many weeks into the NFL season will we hear about positive tests? Every week. I don't see how you're going to avoid it.
Right? We do this for you.
It's not often that you get to work with somebody who you respect.
Johnny O is really pissed. The Cleveland baseball team gave up 5 runs in 82 innings. They lost a game with the runner automatically on second rule in the 10th on Saturday. Then score more runs in the first 9.
How about this? What's more gimmicky? NHL's 3-on-3 overtime or Major League Baseball extra innings start with the runner on second? Problem is, I don't think most people realize that hockey's 3-on-3 overtime.
There you go.
So
I just think what's more gimmicky? 16 teams making the playoffs in baseball, or a runner on second in extra innings. Either that or what do you want? What would you prefer? A runner on second to decide the game in extra innings, or a tie?
Or a tie after 11. We got to give them a, or you could just say tie after 9.
Yeah, a tie. After 9, it's a tie, and it's done. Because to me, you can't have 2 innings of extra. You either play it out or you do this. For this season, I don't think going forward, if you know what I mean, I've always liked your rule going forward. 11 innings, it's a tie. Because, even in the NFL, we're coming around to ties. And I always laugh. I go back, I think I was a freshman in college. We went down to Detroit for the day for an afternoon Sunday game, and I watched the Red Wings play Calgary. And it was when Detroit was getting good and Calgary was good. This late 80s. And the Wings tied them 5-5. And I remember everybody walking out of that stadium that day going, everybody was in a good mood. They're like, hey, they just skated with Calgary for 3 periods and scored 5 goals. This team's, they're on their way. But you lose a shootout, everybody walks out pissed.
No, I don't disagree, but they did research 30 years ago in which they said fans don't want a resolution.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's it. Miller?
Since we can't sit next to one another, I was thinking about the first break, toasting my English muffin and saying, hey, it's English muffin time during the starting 5.
And Moulton.
Love BOGO English muffins. You throw one on the counter, you throw the other in the freezer. How are we going to run this interview, by the way?
When you've got BOGO,
probably next, I guess. I've been kind of waiting on John to see if we have something going on.
I don't think we do.
Well, we can run it at 7:30. We run it at 8. We run it at 8:30. Let's do Jamal Adams here because you didn't mention that trade in the starting 5. I don't think, unless I
didn't.
Totally missed it.
Nope.
You're live.
And at a couple minutes past 7 o'clock, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this final Monday of July in 2020. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. If you're an Amazon Prime customer, you have a free Twitch channel. Well, make us, Miller and Moulton, your channel of choice. Sign up. We would appreciate it. 479-5551 is how you can chime into the show on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Text or call in at 479-5551. Mark, I left it out. It was arguably the big story of the weekend, although this Marlin story could turn out to be the biggest story from the weekend.
I think the Marlin story will be the biggest story going forward, but you are right. I think certainly the biggest story that changes sports or teams happened over the weekend when Jamal Adams was sent to Seattle for a king's ransom.
I don't think it's as much of a ransom as it first appeared. I was with you. When I first heard it, I went, damn. And then I thought about it, and if by chance you missed it, Jamal Adams now a Seahawk. Jets get 2 first-round picks. They get a 3rd-round pick, and they get a safety in the deal. Seattle gets Adams, and they get a 4th-round pick from the Jets in 2022. Now, he's going to become their Cam Chancellor. He's going to fit into that defense, and for those, the Legion of Boom and that Seahawks defense, when they were really good, that 5-year run there where the defense carried them more than Russell Wilson did. All right, Cam Chancellor was arguably the most important part of that defense, and they feel as if they just haven't had that there, and they feel Adams is it. And, Mark, this is the 4th trade in the last 2 years. After only having 4 trades in the previous 18 years in which a team has given up multiple first-round picks. Think about it. Khalil Mack, Jalen Ramsey, Laramie Tunsil, and now Adams.
All right, let's just stop with my MVP in Houston. Because most people thought that Miami clearly dominated that trade.
Yes.
They got the far better end. All right, just a quick question for you. What's more important to a team, a left tackle or a safety?
A left tackle.
Okay. They gave up damn near as much for a safety as they did for a left tackle.
Mm-hmm. Yep. First off, I would argue Adams is a better player.
Oh, okay. But it's a left tackle for a decade versus a safety.
And I would argue in Seattle, all right, with the way they've set up their defense and their style of play, that it's a more important position than it is most everywhere else in the league. All right. The reason why, at first glance, I thought, man, they overpaid. You got to be able to take one of these picks back, whether it was a first rounder or a 3rd rounder, or why in the world they given up this much. But then I looked at it this way. First off, Joe Douglas didn't want to trade him. And so he said, hey, if you want him, you're going to have to pay the price. But secondly, Adams was if this was a draft day deal, Mark, Adams is a player going in the top 10. And remember, 3 years ago, he went 6th overall. If you're Seattle, you're drafting in the 20s. I mean, you've made the playoffs the last 2 years. You're drafting in the 20s. And you think going forward, you're going to be drafting from the mid-20s to the low 30s. And the Jets are also. So the Jets are like, well, listen, if you want to trade all the way up to 6th and you're drafting at 25, well, I need 2 first-round picks for you to move up that much. So if you look at it that way, the 2 first-rounders doesn't seem as outrageous considering how far you'd have to move to get them.
No question, David. Pete Carroll said similar things. That look, we've drafted once up there in the last 10 years. So I understand that. Now, unless Adams comes way off of his asking price, they're in for some contract negotiations because the highest paid safety in the league's making shy of $15 million.
Mm-hmm.
It is rumored that Adams wants in the $20 million range.
Right.
So now you're going to pay a safety, and I get it. They use safeties differently. They think of it almost as a hybrid linebacker, whatever you want to call it. But it's still an exorbitant sum of your cap for a position that doesn't usually garner that kind of money. And you pretty much have to pay him because you just gave up 2 firsts. So you look foolish if you make that move and lose the player.
Right.
Now, maybe, and David, we know this happens, I would feel very confident as this trade was going on, being discussed, that they talked to the agent and they've got a pretty good gauge as to what it's going to take to sign him. At least some parameters that they must feel comfortable with. I'm not a fool to think that that conversation didn't happen, but it's still out there.
Yeah. And my guess is they're going to sign a 5-year extension to his current deal, a la Mahomes, who signed a 10-year extension to his current deal, and he's going to play this year and next year still on his rookie deal. And that Adams will do the same, but he will get a signing bonus. So for a guy who feels that he is underpaid and doesn't want to, if I'm one of the top 3 safeties in the game, maybe the top safety in the game, I do not want to be making my rookie contract while I'm this good. They will placate him by giving him a signing bonus. And so he'll be able to put the money in his bank account right now, and then they will prorate it out beginning with 2022 through 2026. Adams is also 24 years old. Now, he's not Ed Reed. He's much more of a Troy Polamalu type safety than he is Ed Reed. He's not a sideline-to-sideline cover safety. He's not a big ball hawk. I believe he only has 2 career interceptions, although he returned to both for touchdowns. You could argue, depending on your system, Mark, is Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is more of a sideline-to-sideline type safety. Which safety nowadays is more valuable? He had 6.5 sacks last year, though, Adams did. And Seattle has no pass rush. So they're also going to play him a little closer to the line of scrimmage than the average safety. That's their style of play. They feel he's the perfect fit. And you're right, Mark. They're going to pay him.
They have no choice.
Yeah, they're going to pay him. Now, they don't have a lot of other guys on the team that they're going to have to spend big money on because they've already taken care of Russ. And so they feel beginning in 2022, the cap will be in a certain place where they can afford to pay him $16, $17 million a year, which is my guess as to what it's going to be. Mark, I'm going to project 5 years, $85 million extension, and he's going to get like 30 of it up front. Here you go. Thanks for the effort. And then let's move on.
I will say the one thing that was asked here, Seth, who always joins us on Monday and Tuesday to hang out and chat, says, Seth just asked, what do you think about what he said about Adam Gase? I think it's right on. I think Adam Gase is a horrible coach. I think Adam Gase has no business leading one of the 32 teams in the NFL. I think when we saw Adam Gase's eyes in that press conference, we learned a lot about him. For those of you that don't know, in an interview in the New York Daily News, Adam said, I don't feel like he's the right leader for this organization to reach a promised land. As a leader, what really bothers me is that he doesn't have a relationship with anybody in the building. That doesn't shock me. He doesn't look like the relationship type of guy. He looks like I control the relationship type of guy. That's the type of head coach he has seemed to be.
And if this year goes as poorly as you and I think it's going to go for the Jets, which is no better than 6-10 and a chance for it to be worse, I don't think Gase is going to see year 3. Because remember, this GM did not hire Gase. He inherited Gase. This GM, remember, didn't get the job until after the 2019 draft. So this GM's only had one off season, one draft, and he didn't get to pick the head coach, but he got a 6-year contract. Joe Douglas feels as if he has time because he said no to the Jets for 3 months. They kept offering him 4 years. No. 5. No. And he said, I'll only leave if I get a 6-year deal. I've seen your roster. It's not good. He didn't do the Le'Veon Bell deal. He didn't hire Adam Gase. He didn't draft Adams. Joe Douglas still has 5 full years left on a contract, and he feels as if he's got a young quarterback. He thinks he's got time. And now he's got 2 first-round picks in 21 and 2 first-round picks in 22. And he's even got an extra third-round pick in 22 just for you-know-what and giggles. And Douglas goes, yeah, I need all these players. We're not very good. I still need offensive linemen. I don't have a good edge rusher. I don't have a shutdown corner. And my wide receiving core might be the worst in the NFL.
I found it interesting that Le'Veon Bell decided to go after a little Twitter war of words. It was, I mean, look, that's what we do. But Le'Veon Bell was a little upset about Adams leaving. And I just found the whole thing weird. It's like, Le'Veon, you sat out a year for more money. And
well, he was upset because apparently Adams was one of the big recruiters to convince him to sign with the Jets. And also Le'Veon 2 weeks ago apparently had a long conversation with Adams. And then he said, hey, I just talked to him. He's going to stay. He just wants to get paid. He's frustrated. He just wants to get paid. I know. I've been there. I talked to him about it. He's going to – but then, Mark, he trashes the owner and he trashes the head coach. I mean, 2 weeks ago when Le'Veon talked to him, he only was complaining and pouting because he hadn't gotten paid, and he had said a couple things about the general manager.
Well, and 2 weeks ago, we hadn't found out the owner had said what he said.
I understand, but no one else on the team, by the way, criticized the owner. Well, I mean, that's the other thing.
No one else on the team wanted to get traded.
Exactly.
It's pretty simple. First off, if you're going to criticize the owner, what leverage do you have? Well, when you're the best at your position in 24, the owner can look at the GM and say, get him the hell out. Everybody else, he just says, cut. So when Adams says this, he forces the hand of an owner with an attitude. And what owner doesn't have an attitude? They own professional sports teams. They're rich. They're egocentric. That kind of goes along with the territory.
The rest of the deal, Seattle gives up a third-round pick in 2022, but the Jets give them a fourth-round pick in 2022. So that's probably 20 to 25 spots in the draft that essentially they just flopped picks. So, what's that value on the Jimmy Johnson draft chart? Is that a 7th-round pick value? Is that a 6th-round pick value? So, but they also, Seattle did, they threw in the young safety. So there are Jets fans who were like, oh, my goodness, we did it again. We traded our best player, another first-round pick who we don't even get 4 years out of. Why do we keep doing this? Why didn't we sign him? And to me, it's like, if you're Joe Douglas, you can't turn this down. First off, he's trashed everything about the organization. There's no guarantees that this guy's ever going to really buy back into being a Jet. Training camp starts on Tuesday. And then I say to the whole league, hey, if you want him, if you pay the price, he's yours. And a team pays the price. I think the Jets made out really well in the deal, really well. Seattle still needs a pass rusher, though. If they think that they're better than the Niners and equal to or better than the Saints with the defensive line that they have, they're fooling themselves. Whether it's bringing Clowney back, although that relationship seems burned, to me, it's Everett Griffin, the former Viking, who's averaged 8+ sacks a year for 5 years as a defensive tackle. I think they need him. He's 32. He's got 2 more years in him. They need a defensive lineman, Mark. They have no pass rush. I think they had like 26 sacks last year as a team, and that was with Clowney.
So Adams is now a Seahawk. We will see. It is fascinating in that the Jets and Dolphins are going through this rebuild almost simultaneously as the Patriots are getting really old. I mean, no Brady, Cam, you can't expect that to be for a super long time, but I just find this division is in such flux heading into the year.
Well, it's certainly there for Buffalo for the taking. I mean, it really is. Buffalo's at the perfect point of their build, if you know what I mean. They've also been able to have their cake and eat it too. You know, they had that Tyrod Taylor 2017 year where they snuck into the playoffs and gave their fans a taste. And then they were smart enough to say, you know what, we maxed out with this group. This group can't do any better than 9-7 and, you know, losing in the first round of the playoffs. So they tear it down. And by the end of year 2, they've got a young quarterback and they're back in the playoffs having won more games.
Hey, and I mean, just little things off season. Ed Oliver got that DWI. Well, that thing all went away about a week ago.
Well, it turned out to be completely bogus.
I got you. But look, it was, you know, we had a weekend where we had a bunch of players get caught with drinking and drugs and guns. And Oliver's one was, he did have a gun and he did have a beer. I mean, those are factual. But what happened throughout the thing, if you go read the report, is pretty damning. But he you know, so there's going to be, but I mean, look at David. If that was true, he's missing a game.
At least.
So, I mean, just think about this from just football. Don't worry about that other part right now. But just think about the football. He was missing a game. That's their big stud on defense. They got Diggs in the offseason. So, yes, Buffalo has a great spot here. And you are right, because the Taylor year sneaking into the playoffs and then just got rid of that like it was, move on.
But they were smart enough to, you know, self-scouting. We talk about this all the time, whether it's, you know, us in real life or you take a look at your business, but also for teams. You know, sometimes the media is able to evaluate a team sometimes a little more realistically than a team evaluates itself. They get caught up in, hey, we accomplished this, we think we can do more, when the outside world's going, yeah, I don't think you can do more with what you guys have. You know, you kind of maxed out with what you got. And that's what the Bills determined in 2017. We can't do more with this group. If we want to compete for a champion, if we want to get to where the Patriots are,
right,
this talent level's not going to do it.
Well, you know, when you're self-scouting in the AFC East, you better damn well be doing a good job of it. Because otherwise you're just fooling yourself. And I think that the Jets and the Dolphins largely fooled themselves with a lot of past organizations. At least the Bills were pretty honest about where they were with Tyrod Taylor and say this is never going to be good enough to beat them.
And now, if they're not the favorite, co-favorite in the AFC East, is that fair to say? Is that overstating what the Patriots have lost and where the Bills are? Can you say the Patriots and Bills are co-favorites in the East, or is that a slap at the Patriots and or lifting Buffalo up a little too much?
You know, David, it should be accurate, but in fact, I think it is accurate when it comes to Vegas. I'm not ready to make them co-favorites yet. I'll still say that they're the upstart Buffalo Bills.
Gotcha.
And I think if you're a Bills fan, think about this. Since Memphis Tom here says, when my Bills got rid of Nathan Peterman, our team turned around. So, Tom, I will let you answer this in real time. And I know there are a lot of Bills fans out there. They can use the Williamson Brothers Marine Talk and text line 479-5551. Think about this and don't answer quickly, Tom. Because if I said, would you rather be co-favorites to win the East or the upstart Bills to win the AFC East, which would you rather be? Because I think initially the Bills fan has a strong ego and a very strong bit of self-worth that they want initially to be co-favorites. But when you're co-favorites and you do what the Bills typically do, that's disappoint. Co-favorite hurts in January. But if you're the upstart Buffalo Bills and you win the division, the joy you're going to feel is far greater than that of being the favorite. You will have done something that you weren't necessarily supposed to do, and you ease your way in the 2021 year of being the team. in the AFC East. So Bills fan out there, that's just a little mini Bills poll question, because if we put you as part of any poll question, it ends up going all over the country and taken over by the Bills Mafia.
To me, they're co-favorites. And they need to adopt the mentality, by the way, that they're co-favorites. The little engine that could act, you've done that long enough.
Great. Now we need Bills fans thinking they're good. I mean, is it okay if the team does it, not the fans? Because that's a tough fan base to think co-favorite for a whole year and a preseason.
There's going to be a lot of pent-up frustration because none of them are going to be allowed at any of the games. I mean, that's 80+ thousand Bills fans around the country who are not going to get to tailgate in the parking lot, not going to get to jump off of things and break tables. I mean, there's going to be, a key 80,000 people around the country who make their way to Orchard Park 8 times a year, and they're not going to be able to do that this year. And some of them live in Southwest Florida. All right, they're going to struggle. They are going to have a lot of pent-up frustration come mid-September. They're going to have to let it loose. Miller and Moulton. But Jamal Adams, the Seahawk, training camps open tomorrow. Some big NFL news, and the NFL and the NFLPA came to an agreement officially late Friday. There's 2 things, Mark, we don't know, however. Players have until a week from today to opt out. And there's already one player who did, Kansas City Chiefs guard, who's both A, a med student, and B, Canadian. So that's an interesting dynamic for those that are politicizing the whole coronavirus, those 2 elements at play there. He right now is the only NFL player that we know of who raised his hand and said, yeah, I'm done. You get a stipend, by the way, if you do that. If you do it for the coronavirus, I think you get like $250,000, $300,000. If you do it for any other reason, you get $150,000. That's it. See you next year. But we don't know, A, does the player who opts out's contract count against the team's cap? But most importantly, what was the very first thing Major League Baseball owners and players agreed upon?
Service time.
Bingo. We don't know if the player opts out, does he get credit for a year of service? And Mark, you tell me, because players root for other players. Players always want players to get paid. However, let's just say you opt in and I opt out, and we're teammates. You have to play your year and risk getting the coronavirus for the year to get your service time. Are you going to want me to be able to get my service time sitting home watching you on the couch?
Skip the coronavirus for a second. I got you. But, David, we know how these players think. Mentality-wise, they're not worried about the coronavirus. You sit out a year, get service time, and another guy's play. They're going to be how many players this year they're going to have career-type ending injuries? Bad, knees. I mean, it's football. I'm not wishing for it. I'm just being factual here. Guys are going to lose the rest of their career while this guy gets a service year. That's not going to sit well with the rank and file player, David. When I saw him opt out, I wondered, here's a team that he's a starting guard on the Super Bowl champs.
Right.
How happy is Kansas City right now? When you walk back into that room next year, how are they going to be? This is uncharted territory for these players. I think the players all expect you to show up and play. At the end of the day, David, I think all of these players expected everybody to show up and play. I think that's the mentality of the athlete.
I agree.
And when someone opts out, I think it's it's a little Scooby-Doo, I mean, what? He did what?
So we'll see next year how well he's received and welcome back, if in fact he's welcome back. But we still have to find out this year, A, do these players count against the cap? Because remember, if you get injured, that counts against the cap. They put you on IR, that counts. So does opting out count or not count? And do you get your year of service time? Because the baseball player does. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us on this final Monday in July, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
All right. We doing extra innings or playoffs? Or we just want to do extra innings? What would you have preferred? Tie after 9, tie after 11, what they're doing now?
Yeah, that's the question I would like.
Weekdays at noon on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling tip of the day. I grew up in the air conditioning business.
You're right. What they're doing now is going to win because people really don't like ties. But
see, and I'll vote for tie. Like, I will be all over tie. And for this year, tie after 9. I don't need 10 and 11. Just end this effing thing. Besides, if I know late in the season that it's a tie, how am I playing differently in 7, 8, 9 if I'm in a tie game?
Well, totally.
That's the part of this that I think people miss out on.
You know, the big reason why, even though they've done a lot of research in hockey and they say if you adjusted the points where you got 3 for a regulation win and what have you, that the standings for the last 10, 15 years would essentially be exactly the same.
David, you don't know how many times we sat on the bus and did this.
Yeah, but I think that I think teams would and coaches would play the last 5 minutes differently. I really do.
They are great people there. I've been going to Stadium Dry Cleaners, I'm telling you, for as long as I can remember. And you may know Larry Rose. Now, Larry is an experienced SEC and NFL referee. Well, I know Larry has a fantastic dry cleaner and a great businessman. Look, you're gonna love.
How do you know someone's a fantastic dry cleaner? Is it their ironing or is it their dry? I mean,
because you've been a customer for 30 years.
Okay. How many bad dry cleaners have you gone to in your life?
Takes a lot to be a bad dry cleaner.
That's my point. That is exactly my point. You know what dry cleaner you go to? The one that's closest to your house. Until they F something up and then you switch.
Exactly. That's when you become a bad dry cleaner. All of a sudden, something's not clean. Oh, these guys suck. Next. I'm done with this guy. The Godfather's been all over IFC the last week. Godfather and Godfather 2.
Baseball's back. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of The Godfather and Godfather 2. Although I watched a lot of baseball Saturday. I did. Not going to lie. I was fascinated by the crowd noise and how these guys were broadcasting. Separated. I mean, Buck and Smoltz were only about 2,200 miles apart.
If KBB says it's worth $5,000, Naples Nissan will give you $13,000.
All right. MLB has changed extra innings. Most don't like it. Which ending of a baseball game would you prefer? 2020, runner on second, because you've only got 25 characters, remember this. Tie after 9, tie after 11.
There you go.
That read right to you?
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. Everybody else? Anyone? Bueller?
Hi, Dr. Mark here.
I'm voting tie after 11.
Thanks.
Automation is the answer. Use your phone to turn on your spa, and it'll be warm when you get home. Free on-site evaluations. We're a family company.
So I had to do something on Sunday that I didn't want to do, and I think anybody listening to the show knows exactly what that is. It was roughly 45 minutes long, and it went from 8:30, and I think I got in the car at 9:13. For the life of me, David, my new biggest pet peeve in life is people that are in places where you're supposed to wear a mask and then refuse to wear it the right way.
That's all right. Walmart came out this morning and said they're not going to enforce their mask rule. Well, then what the hell's the purpose of having it?
How about the 2 people in Minnesota that showed up with swastika masks?
Yeah, they've now been banned from Walmart for a year.
Yeah.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Halfway home on this final Monday of July. Hope you had a good weekend, or, well, as good as it can be these days. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. You can chime in via text or via calling in on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 479-5551, 479-5551.
I had a date this weekend. Mother-in-law was in town, decided to take care of the daughter on Saturday night. We did a dinner.
I was going to say, anybody we know?
Yeah, my wife. She said yes, went out with me and everything.
Hot damn.
Went to a new restaurant.
Look at you.
It was spectacular.
Alive.
Maybe the best Italian I've ever had down here.
Wow.
Not going to lie. Place in Fort Myers. Out of this world.
Okay.
Out of this world. I will.
I'm writing all this stuff down. Sometime in 2022, my wife and I, we're going to get around all this stuff.
Good. Well, let's just hope all these places are still open in 2022.
Right. Well, that is true.
Pick and decide as best you can when you go out. Look at, you know me and my love of national chains. But pick and decide, man. When you're getting your takeout, try to think of these restaurateurs because they need you. They still need you. And get if you're like me and go out, great. If you're not, and you're like David, get some to go. Just mix it up. Try to support some of our local folks because they definitely need it. When you're at a nice place on a Saturday night and there's 3 tables inside dining, that that's not what they're expecting. And it's a struggle for those folks, and I certainly hope they come out of it okay. We got a poll question finally, David.
We got ourselves a poll question.
MLB has changed their extra innings.
Boy, have they ever.
Yes, they have.
It sucks.
Most don't like it.
Yeah.
Which ending of a baseball game would you prefer? The 2020 runner on second, a tie after 9, or a tie after 11? I'm not even giving the option of keeping it the same. I actually enjoy this quirkiness for a year. I'm fine with it. I've all of a sudden, when I see one of the games on the MLB mix going to 10, I'm putting the game on because it's different. And David, you're right. This isn't real baseball. I'm not trying to make it seem like it is. This is, this is fast pitch softball. I mean, I honestly remember, David, because I grew up around fast pitch. There was 2 dominating leagues. There was the International Softball Congress, and I believe the either Amateur or American Softball Association. And those were the 2 big tournaments. In one year in one of those tournaments, I don't remember which, but they played 7-inning games. And in the 8th, a runner went on second because in softball, scoring's even harder than it is in baseball. And I remember everybody hating it. I remember it being exciting because, well, you get a runner on second in a sport like that. For you, David, for an English muffin nooks and crannies guy, a runner on second in softball has 67 at least possibilities of what you can do with the next person at bat. There's so much going on. And in baseball, the same thing. Now, I know you think it's quirky, but we're playing 60 games. It's already quirky. I don't know what to tell you. We've got fake fans. We've got cardboard fans. We have announcers 3,000 miles away doing the game. Hey, throw a runner on second. Now, I wouldn't want it to go full time. I think I would vote for probably the tie after 11 going forward for baseball as opposed to 9. But I could put a lot into a tie after 9 because the strategy in 7, 8, and 9 for teams could be very different, particularly going down the stretch when you have to get a win.
And the reason why I don't mind a tie in baseball, first off, I don't have a problem with a tie. For everybody who loves soccer, well, they've had ties forever in soccer. How many of you like the NFL? How many of you love the NFL? They've had ties in the NFL forever in the regular season. In fact, for the longest time, they didn't even have overtime. It was just done after 60 minutes. Then they let you play 15 minutes. Now we've reduced the 15 minutes to 10, except for the playoffs. And you're okay when they tie in the NFL. So if you're okay when in the National Football League they have a tie, don't tell me that you got a problem if you have a tie in baseball. And ultimately, what determines whether or not you make the playoffs? winning percentage. So you don't know at the time, is the tie going to work for you or against you? And as Pat Kerwin's always said, 2 ties equals a win in terms of winning percentage. 8, 6, and 2 is the same as 9 and 7. Now, I will say this. I don't want to sound like a curmudgeon here, but like, I don't like the college football overtime rules. Like, I think that's gimmicky also.
It is.
And I don't like it. Like, I wouldn't mind if those games ended in a tie.
They
I'd
used
be
to,
fine with it.
and it was the
Yes,
end of the
forever.
world.
Apparently.
Now,
Although
let me
it's
ask you
funny-
this, David, because let me just change gears on you, because you brought up something, and I don't necessarily disagree with a regular season tie. Do you go right to NFL overtime rules then for the playoff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's all,
obviously,
just solving a problem.
You let the playoff. You got to play it till it's done.
I got you. But right now they play college football overtime rules.
Right, I know. It's just
which
stupid.
is that's my point.
Right. Also, and we've had some famous games. The Notre Dame Michigan State game in '66. 10-10 tie. At the Orange Bowl, when Tom Osborne did not play for the tie, in which if he had kicked the extra point, they probably win the national championship. I mean, if people credit him for how gutsy he was, there was a part of it in which you're like, yeah, it is gutsy. And I know you play, as Herm Edwards would later say, to win the game. But if you came to Miami to win a national championship, and if you kicked that extra point, you would have won the national championship. I mean, what would you rather have? The undying respect of the college football world 37 years later, but no ring, or the ring, and a few people go, man, I don't know. Should have gone for 2 there.
Would love to talk to some of those players now and say, what did you think in the moment? Did any of you in the moment when you were going, talk to a defensive player that's on the bench going, what are we doing? But I just would be, David, that fourth quarter, you could do a 30 for 30 just on what's going on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are people convinced that Irving Fryer was on the take for letting that pass go through his arms. Yet Nebraska comes back from 2 scores down to cut it to 1 in the final seconds there, and Tom decides to go for the win. Remember the choke at Doak in '94, in which Bobby said, remember, they come back from 31-3. They score to make it 31-30 in the closing moments. And Bobby said, of course, I thought about going for 2, but I felt we had put so much into getting back that I couldn't let my guys potentially walk out of here with an L. That at that point, they needed to come out of here with something. And so I kicked the extra point.
And I've, joked for years in hockey when they've gone to the shootout, and everybody hates ties, but the home team's, the shootout only works if the home team wins it. If the home team loses the shootout, whether it's 4,000 on a Wednesday night at Hertz Arena or whether it's 20,000 at MSG, the home team's fans goes out unhappy with the point. Whereas with the tie, you walk out and go, all right, good game.
I don't know how baseball fan felt this weekend, and I don't know if your team had a game that went to extra innings or not. But Mark, and I didn't think about this before we had a game go extra innings, but I thought about it afterwards. I think if you're the road team, this new rule gives you an edge. It's a little bit like match play in golf and the ability to hit first, whether it's off the tee or you're approaching the greens. Now it's only advantage if you do what you're supposed to do. But to me, the pressure, if you put a runner on second with nobody out, that runner scores more than half the time. So in theory, tie game would go to extra innings, and the visiting team, they bunt the guy over, they hit the sac fly. Now they lead 3-2 going to the bottom of the 10th. Well, there's pressure on the home team now. They're losing. And it's like, oh, man, I got to get this bunt down. I screw up this bunt, we're going to lose this game. And Whereas opposed to, the odds are not even close to 50-50, nobody on, nobody out to start an inning. I do feel as if this rule, it's like hitting, we're tied, we're going to extra holes. Mark, you get to hit first. My feeling is, well, that's edge Mark. Now you got to put it in the fairway.
I don't know if you've seen me drive the golf ball. I think it's edge David.
Well,
a lot of people that know me listening right now go, no. You got a huge edge, Moulton. You're going to grab a 7-iron after he pulls one out of bounds.
Well, we're playing at St. Andrews, so I think you're going to find the short grass. But you may disagree, but when this weekend was done, I thought about it, and I don't know the ratio of home teams winning the extra inning games versus the road teams. I don't. But as one of these games was playing out, I thought, I think it's an advantage to be the road team here.
I will say that Johnny O on Twitter, we know who his baseball team is. It's the Cleveland baseball team, because he let us both know that the Cleveland baseball team gave up 5 runs in 82 innings. They lost a game with a runner automatically on second in the 10th on Saturday. I don't think he likes the rule.
I don't think so either. But is he basing his opinion on the fact that they lost?
Yes.
If they had won, would he like the rule?
Correct.
See, to me, you've got to make your decision. They come out of commercial break. You see the runner on second. Okay, before they throw a pitch, you got to decide, do you like this or not?
In. For 1 year, David. I don't want this all the time, but for the 60-game sprint, I am in. Men, don't know what to tell you.
I think there's a fear, though. Let's face it. This commissioner wants to mess around with the game a little bit. He wants to bring in robotic umpires. You happen to like that.
I'm in.
Right.
That's one for Manford.
Right. I don't know where I am on that. We're playing this year with, hey, if you're a reliever, unless you come in and get the final out of an inning, you got to face 3 guys. Some people don't like that, think you're messing too much. Now, extra innings, we're starting with a runner on second and nobody out. And the extra playoff teams. There are a lot of people that believe these so-called 2020 only rules are going to somehow be a part of the game beyond this year. That's all. I don't trust Manford that this extra inning thing isn't going to continue, quite frankly.
And David, I don't know if I would be excited about it coming back in 2022, because next year, theoretically, everything will go back for 1 year, but who knows with the way this sport negotiates. It's regular season. We don't need 18-inning games. We need to fix that, and they've got to come up with a way. And I don't see ties being something that league executives are for. So you may be onto something, David. This may be something that's happening.
Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when, coming up, and in the 8 o'clock hour, we will head on over to South Florida, and we will get to the bottom of what is going on with the Marlins and the coronavirus, and try to project forward. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Drive home with the Doug Gottlieb Show.
This is Chris Jones, of course, full-time with the Kansas City Chiefs extension.
This is only the beginning. Be prepared to have another parade and another parade and another parade.
I believe that they're going to be that good. If Andy Reid could get to 4 straight NFC Championship games with Donovan McNabb as his quarterback, what can he do with the best quarterback in football?
Paco Vasquez. I have no idea.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and trying to keep you and your family safe all the time. It's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood, and the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years.
We're going to run this at 8, then I take it?
Sure.
It's a 20-minute so it's an opening segment. Yeah, I mean, with our little bantering at the end, it was about 18, 19, so that'll be fine.
Locations all up and down West Florida. There's one near you right now. Find out more. Go to C4MH.
Is anybody walking if you give up would you ever walk the first batter?
Sure. I don't know about first batter, but
loaded luxurious Grand Cherokee limited lease, $279 per month.
Because you don't want to then bunt 2 runners in the scoring position, then a single puts you down 2. But
$299 per month. Plus at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, you can drive payment-free for 3 months, interest-free for 6 years, and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. Plus, our parts service and body shop are open to serve you. Summer clearance event featuring Ram Bighorn Crew Cabs for $299 per month at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42 month leases, 10,000 miles per year, $32.94 due at signing plus tax, tag, title, 0 security deposit, $13.88 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 72 months at 0% APR with 0 down with lender approval. Offers don't combine.
When we talk the talk,
This is what we talk about.
He's talking about right and wrong.
we back it up.
right now in very early voting, it's split 50-50. Those that would take the 2020 rules and those that are voting for either one of the 2 ties.
On Fox Sports Radio.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Cortex floors.
I don't know if
Tim,
you caught
tell us
this.
what's new at the store.
Right now we have
ESPN, and I think they should get reamed for this, sent out a tweet Saturday that showed the NBA players, WNBA players walking off the court. According to the tweet, it said as the national anthem was being played.
Right, not
Except for that wasn't accurate.
Right. Correct.
I mean,
And here's the funny thing. You know who called them
Holly
out on
Rowe.
it? Holly Rowe.
Right, but I actually wrote that down in my. I'm like, what the hell? This is the, this is the not a, but this is like, I have friends in Portland. Portland was not bad until troops showed up. It really wasn't. It was a 1-block area.
That's floormeisters.com.
A 1-block area. And when you show that block up close and show, it can look really bad.
Don't panic. This is a good kind of talk. Those glasses and contacts you're sporting, they're just in the way of you having the freedom to enjoy a
But this is what we do. It's the world we're in.
wants to offer you $1,000 off bilateral LASIK, the savings that will allow you to celebrate better vision and a better life. Dr. Jonathan France and his expert team of surgeons want to help you see your future in 2020 through the advanced technology.
So the Lincoln Project, I saw it last night, a ad of Trump just ripping women apart. Reporters, just
right.
And then at the end, I just wish her the best. Wish her well.
Yeah. 99 days as of today.
Yep.
Until election day.
We shouldn't hear much about it between now and then.
You're live.
10 minutes before 8 o'clock, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Feel free to sign up for them. If you're an Amazon Prime customer, you get a free Twitch channel. Make the Miller and Moulton channel your channel of choice. We'd appreciate it. 479-5551 is how you can text or call the show on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 479-5551. Without further ado, it is time for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Let's start today in 1927, when baseball fan and sports fan favorite crossword clue, Mel Ott, At 18, hits his first league home run. It was inside the park. I mean, come on, David. Did you grab, and I talk about this all the time, Michigan State had a great daily college newspaper. I mean, it was like, it was a big boy paper, complete with a full-blown comics and puzzles page in the back. And you could fold that puzzle page to get the crossword right there. And how many times was on there? Baseball great Mel. Hey, I know that one.
Well, and the other thing was longtime Raiders center, Jim Otto.
Yes.
You know, the great Raiders teams of the late 60s and throughout much of the 70s. Jim Otto, who had then Upshaw and Shell to his left.
And I think sometimes Alex Karras would get on there. You get the first name because they want that X. 1940 is when Billboard magazine starts publishing its bestseller charts. Also today in 1914, Bugs Bunny. Happy 80th birthday.
Well, hold on. You went to 1940.
1940 Billboard.
Okay. You said 1914, so I got.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I said 40. Right. That's bad on me. 1940, Billboard starts publishing bestseller, and in 1940, Bugs Bunny debuts in Wild Hair. 1946, Rudy York from the Red Sox hits 2 grand slams in one game, 10 total RBI. 1953 was the end of the Korean War. North Korea and the United Nations signed the Armistice Agreement. 1983, we jumped 30 years ahead. Gaylord Perry joins Nolan Ryan and Steve Carlton with 3,500 strikeouts.
Mark, was it really a war or was it a conflict? Always enjoyed that growing up. Here you were in history class and you're a youngster and you were being told it was a conflict.
I have to be frank with you, David. I don't know if we spent 5 minutes in history on the Korean War / conflict.
Really? Huh. Okay.
Most of my history stuff, I think, ended with WW2.
Once we won that, that's it.
Call it a day. Today in 84, Pete Rose collected his 3,503rd single.
Say that out loud.
3,503 singles.
You know, Rose's stats are kind of like Gretzky's in that Gretzky would be the all-time leading scorer if he never scored a goal. You know, he has more assists than Jaromir Jagr has points.
Did score 91 in a season.
Right. I mean, Rose is that way too, just if you took doubles, triples, and homers off the equation. Right.
Tommy John today in 1988 commits 3 errors on 1 play. Yankees would beat the Brewers 16-3.
Man, that's hard to do.
Really is. 1989, Dale Murphy is the 10th to get 6 RBI in 1 inning. 1993, NBC was awarded the 96 Olympic Games for $456 million.
Yeah, they're paying a little more for that now.
Right. It was today in Atlanta that the Olympic Park bombing took place. 1999, Tony Hawk is the first skateboarder to land a 900. It's 3.5 times around, kids. And he's not young at 99. And he's not young in 99 either.
But definitely don't try it at home. You'll end up on America's Funniest Videos, which is not funny.
Well, even worse now, you'll end up on Chive TV, which they have at so many places where they just show these things over and over on a loop. If you were born today, you share your birthday with Leo DeRocher, born today in 1906. The great Norman Lear, born today in 1922. Irv Cross was born today in 1939. Epic show, the NFL today, when you think about
Change television.
How good that was. Peggy Fleming, figure skating star, born today in 1948. Coach O, happy birthday, Ed. 59 years old today. Go Tigers. Triple H is 51. Peter Yorn, if you haven't heard of him, pretty good musician, does a great cover of Panic by the Smiths, is 46. A-Rod is 45. David's favorite quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, 32 years old today. And Jordan Spieth is 27. And that, David, is today was the day on this Ryan Tannehill day, July the 27th.
Boy, A-Rod's been in the news a lot lately.
Well, I mean, it's just his birthday.
They didn't have him broadcast the game last night.
No.
It decided that it might actually be a conflict of interest since he's trying to buy the Mets to broadcast Mets games. Really? That's funny. For the longest time, they didn't think it was a conflict for Al Leiter or Jessica Mendoza to broadcast Mets games, even though they were on the Mets payroll. Unbelievable.
That really, really has got you bothered. I mean,
yes, it did.
That's never you're never gonna let go of that.
No, it's laughable to me. I told you I would have been a jerk if I was the other team. They would have been around the batting cage. I would have been like, get the heck out of here. You work for them. You're on their payroll, man. I can't trust you. Get out of here.
We'll talk Marlins on the other side. Andy Slater covers the Marlins. We talked to him last night as everything was going on. We'll get his report of everything that's happening Florida Marlins style coming up here in about 3 minutes.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
We are Fox Sports! Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger. It's just like the Western Bacon Cheeseburger with char-broiled beef, crispy bacon and onion rings, and topped with tangy barbecue sauce. But we added spicy jalapenos and melty pepper jack cheese. We took a burger that was already delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this. Try the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
Fake news.
Hardee's presents the Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito. Wanted in 42 states on charges of bringing a sweat to the brow of breakfast lovers with low spice tolerance. We start with a made-from-scratch biscuit. And then we had a fluffy omelet full of melted cheese.
Yeah, Archangel, it may be manufactured news, but the problem is that it did a disservice to the WNBA.
The Southwest Omelet, Biscuit, and Burrito are back.
I mean, here's a league that's struggling to get attention and struggling to gain respect. And the only headline that they get from their opening weekend from the network that televises their games is a false one.
While doing anything else you like to do while on the go. And this year, you can't even watch baseball in a ballpark.
You see Ditka's comments?
Yeah, they're the same as they've always been.
Rare stance, so still at the plate. When the Marlins play, now the pitch. Get the play-by-play. Oh, what a play! On Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, home for Miami Marlins baseball.
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet. With over
Tell you what, though, if you were angry 4 years ago, we did that poll question a couple months ago, and only like, what, 7% of the people said they've changed their tune from 4 years ago?
New membership pricing
So,
starts as low
in
as
theory, if you were angry at the Nealon 4 years ago, you're going to be angry now.
Or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 103.3 Radio. We are Fox. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com.
Are we okay?
We're good, David.
Okay. All right. We'll get rolling here. 3, 2, 1.
That's what I wanted. All right, David, you need to turn your mic off. Okay? Because I'm running it off the same pot that I run you. So if you start grabbing things, are you there? Okay, well,
All good. Relax. I'm right here. I'm listening to you. It's all good.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep. That's it. Miller.
But since we can't sit next to one another, I was thinking about the first break, toasting my English muffin and saying, hey, it's English muffin time during the starting five.
And Moulton.
Love BOGO English muffins. You throw one on the counter, you throw the other in the freezer.
There you go.
For a week, then you take it out. When you've got BOGO, it's like, hey, knock yourself out.
Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable.
Yes! Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And welcome back, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. It's a pleasure to welcome Andy Slater, he of the Andy Slater Show, weekday afternoons on Fox Sports 640 in South Florida. You can follow Andy on Twitter at Andy Slater. Andy, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Well, we are doing great. Thanks so much for agreeing to do this, particularly at this hour. Andy, this is quite a story. The way it unfolded, the way they had to play through it, the fact that as we are speaking, they are still in Philadelphia. I mean, take us through this. This is baseball's worst nightmare. We knew it was going to happen. It just happened to the Marlins on day 4.
Yeah, I think you guys probably thought the same thing I did, and maybe even fans. Like, you're going to have players test positive. We knew that, okay, even in any league, not just baseball, there's going to be players that somehow are going to contract the virus and they're going to test positive. But with the Marlins situation, now we're looking at multiple players, at least 4 that we currently know of, and possibly more. So you're talking about getting on a plane. They went from Atlanta to Philadelphia late last week for their opener. And while you wait for the test results, all of the guys are still hanging out together. I mean, they're not like, chilling like they normally would. They're following the protocols, I'm sure, but they're all still in the same clubhouse. They're out there on the field, close proximity sometimes on the base paths to other players. So you have a situation, and the biggest problem to me is the time between you get tested and the time you find out the result, especially when you have a known case on your team. And the first one was the catcher Alfaro. So you've had guys around him, and now you're just letting everybody do their thing like you would this year, waiting for that test result. So it's very difficult. It's a difficult situation, and it's new to everybody, including them.
Okay, there are not a lot of scenarios if you start losing players. I guess the first protocol would be this taxi squad that's around. How are they going to try to figure out testing, figure out who is not positive, and then how would they bring players to the team from the minor league system, if you will?
Yeah, well, the tough part specifically for them yesterday was that this was their last game in Philadelphia, and then they're flying back home later on today, and they were supposed to fly home yesterday. So it was a last-minute thing, and they weren't able to bring anybody from Jupiter. Now today they're going to be flying home to Miami in just a little bit. They're going to be playing there tonight. So it makes the situation a little bit easier as far as Jupiter to Miami. You're only talking about an hour and a half. The smart thing they did, though, was waiting until today to fly home. Because, again, waiting for a test result, that's a key period of time. So from what I understand, they wound up testing everybody again today, and they're waiting for the results to come in this morning, probably right about now. This way, if there's any more positives, they're not going to allow those players onto the plane, which if they would have left last night, that would have been this scenario. So that was a smart move, and it was something that maybe not anybody thought of until the last minute, but it was a good call.
He's Andy Slater of the Andy Slater Show, weekday afternoons on Fox Sports 640 in Miami. Follow Andy on Twitter at Andy Slater. Is there a magic number that a team has to have in order to forfeit a game? And also, I mean, do we know, would the Marlins or anybody else have had to forfeit, or could you just reschedule the game? I mean, I know 4 is not enough, but I mean, it was 3 regulars and a starting pitcher, right? I mean, and they won. But my goodness, we all wonder with football training camps opening tomorrow, Andy, we've joked about if one guy gets it, could it go through and wipe out the entire wide receiving core? I mean, has it been discussed? What's the magic number to have to forfeit a game?
I asked the question, not exactly a magic number, but yesterday post-game, Mattingly and some of the players were made available. And I asked the question, and several others did as well, was there any thought about not playing yesterday? Because you have multiple players who have tested positive. And again, I keep going back to this because it's really important. The key is the time between the test and the result. Think about it. You guys in your studio and your building on a regular basis, or any workplace, if you knew for sure that there was a coworker of yours that was infected with the virus, that would be like, okay, you guys go take a test, but you're still going to be in the studio. You're still going to be around that workplace. That's not a smart call. Miguel Rojas, though, he's like one of the leaders on the Marlins. And he was saying he has a chat with all the players, and they had a discussion. Don Mattingly said there was a discussion earlier before the game yesterday, like, what should they do? And the players said, hey, look, we knew what we were in for. We're going to go out there and play. So I don't think there's a magic number, but I do think if the players come together and the other team says, hey, we're not comfortable, I think Major League Baseball would understand. You do the testing again quickly. You try to get the quick results within 24 hours, and then you make it up the next day, play a doubleheader. I do believe, though, I hate to make predictions here on this kind of stuff, but I guess I'll make one anyway. I would think that we're going to see at some point, probably sooner than later, we're going to see one of those situations happen where it's an uncomfortable situation and a game's going to get postponed and then played the following day or the day after that.
I'm watching Sunday Night Baseball, and it's about 8 o'clock, and I literally said to my wife, as I see the report on the Marlins and saw the report on 2 Reds players, I just looked up and said to her nonchalantly, how are they going to finish the season? And I ask you that very same question. We've gotten through a weekend, and here we are with, I think, a few more tests. Like basketball and hockey, hey, we'll see. We'll figure it out when it's all done. But they're in a bubble, and things seem to be going okay. We've just started this. What happens when a team's, I don't know, 8-28, and they don't give a damn when they're on the road what they do? This is only going to get worse, isn't it?
It's a great question because there's really no answer to it. I don't think there's an answer to a lot of this stuff. And I think Major League Baseball and all the sports commissioners, they probably feel the same way. Like, hey, we put together a list of protocols. We're going to do the best we possibly can. And look, with all the players in Major League Baseball, you're talking about a 30-man roster for each team. We're not talking about, like some huge amount of players that have contracted the virus. But then again, like you said, here we are. We're into Monday, and we just finished the first weekend of the MLB season, and we got about 57 games to go. So there's a lot of unknowns. I think we're going to see some postponements. As far as finishing the season goes, I think all these leagues are determined. There's a lot on the line, and if you have to have guys sit out, if you have to test more and get rapid results to sideline some guys, I think they're going to do it. I think they'll finish the season, but again, it's hard to stamp anything because we really don't know how things are going to be even a week from now.
Andy, I don't know if you've been able to talk to enough people, and also you don't have the access that you normally do to guys to gauge, their uncertainty, their uneasiness. But just look at how different this would be, Andy. Let's just say we all worked at the Fox Sports station in South Florida, and Mark and I test positive. Okay. And if we were in the studio, well, nobody would be doing shows from that studio probably for a week, maybe 2 weeks. You would be, and if you came in contact with us, you would go home for 14 days. Whether you would self quarantine. I mean, now I know baseball, it's outside, and so it can be a little safer, but it's not always outside. They travel on buses from the hotel to the stadium. Obviously, they're in a clubhouse together. I mean, it's so precarious, Andy, and it's so different from how we have been told we would have to conduct ourselves if something like this were to happen at our workplace.
And it's not just something that is like, okay, well, MLB is going to do it differently because they're better than us, or they just are more special than the regular people. It really has nothing to do with that.
No.
It has to do with a safety protocol that is really, if you think about it, not that safe. Because like you just said, and I was saying a little while ago, if you guys tested positive in the studio and we all got tested the same day, and hey, I tested negative, what the Marlins and every other MLB team is doing is saying, okay, well, since I tested negative and the other people tested negative, we could still be in that area until we get our next results back. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And because of that, you would have to assume that's exactly what happened here with the Marlins. Alfaro tests positive, even though it's not confirmed. Sources are out there, reports are out there. It's pretty much confirmed that he has the virus. This is pretty much what happened with the Marlins. You had players around Alfaro, a pitching staff that he works with, players in the clubhouse. You're not going to avoid each other. And they're still in the clubhouse, and they're allowed to go out and play. And 3 days later, look at what happens. More players test positive. So it's part of the safety protocol that makes no sense for anyone, not just them, but for anyone, because like you said, you'd be quarantined 14 days. You wouldn't be allowed to go around anybody whatsoever.
Not to mention, we're just talking about the players, and you've brought it up, but the staff that's traveling with your equipment manager and all the people that have to be there. I mean, the equipment managers and the trainers, they're there for more hours than we could ever imagine doing what it is they do. And you lose a couple of them. I mean, there's so many people. There's such a big machine that is moving with this. I think those are the other factors. And again, they're just great unknowns. But I mean, Andy, let's get to the most important part. What are we going to do tonight? First place is on the line. The Orioles are in town, and it's a battle for first place in each division.
Well, we certainly hope so, right? I mean, I tweeted that out actually yesterday, just kind of, as a joke, but it's not a joke. It is a first place matchup. And a lot of the replies are, well, we think we're going to see that matchup. The Marlins are going to be flying home in about 3 hours from now, and the Orioles, they got in last night to Miami. But let's see what happens, because, again, there's going to be more test results. And we have to hope that they'll be playing tonight at Marlins Park. And, we're going to see a matchup that we never thought we would see before, where we have two first-place teams, and they're called the Orioles and the Marlins. Pretty crazy.
And I just want to confirm, Andy, the 4 Marlins are remaining in Philadelphia, and they've got to stay there, right? They've got to stay there. Is it 14 days? Is it until they test negative 2 days in a row? I mean, but they've got to stay behind, right?
Yeah, so they have to stay in their hotel room in Philadelphia, at least 4 of them. And we'll see, here just a little bit, if there's more guys that have to stay behind. But that's something that these guys signed up for, and you're getting paid, pretty big money. You knew all the protocols, and even though, just like any of us, we know what we should be doing and we know what we're signing up for whenever we're doing anything, you never think like, oh man, I'm going to be here in Philadelphia and I live in Miami, and I'm going to be in this hotel room for 14 days, or even if it's 10 days, whatever, everybody's gone and I'm just here in Philadelphia and I can't do anything at all. I mean, look, in the end, comparative to everything going on in the world, it's like big deal. But in the sports world, you know, our type of daily conversation that we have, we're like, man, that's pretty wild. And again, we're what, 3-4 days into the Major League Baseball season, and we've already got this going on.
Well, I mean, and David kind of asked it before, Andy, but what does this make you think with NFL camps opening up? How often, I mean, over the weekend, Michigan State shut down. There was one other one that had to do something of a little bit of a backtrack. The NFL, and we've had Ohio State had a little slowdown. Clemson had a little slowdown. When we've seen so many of these at the collegiate level, how many hiccups should we expect when NFL camps open?
I think we're going to see a lot of hiccups in any league, every league that cannot have a rapid result. Because if you can find out who's positive, you isolate them, you're testing everybody, retest people. There's certain places, the White House, people go in there, they have a rapid test. They know the result within 15 to 20 minutes, even if it's an hour. To be in a clubhouse or a locker room and have physical activity and play a sport, and you're not getting your results for 24 to 48 hours,
it's ridiculous.
This is going to happen. It's going to happen in baseball. We've already seen it. It's going to happen in a bubble situation. It's going to happen. It's going to happen everywhere. So the testing, look, testing is widely available. I mean, everybody can get tested nowadays. You may have to wait in a little line or something, but the whole part about it is you gotta wait for the results. And a normal person, with the real way it should go is you go to take a test and you're supposed to isolate until you get the results, because if you don't, well, then you've just possibly spread it to so many other people. So when we're talking sports and competition, and particularly like you said, the NFL, the results are the biggest thing, and you have to find out right away if a guy is positive. You can't find out 2 days or 3 days later after they've been in contact with so many other people, because that's just how you have a spread, and that's going to be a big problem. Even if it doesn't, I don't think it's going to shut sports down, but think about if your starting quarterback gets it, and maybe he's working in the quarterback's room. So now your backup quarterback has it, and you wind up having a wide receiver play quarterback. I mean, what kind of football is that? We hope that doesn't happen, but those things have to be looked at.
Andy, great job yesterday. You were all over it. We appreciate you making time for us. Stay safe. Be well. Hopefully we can talk soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Andy Slater, host of the Andy Slater Show, weekday afternoons on Fox Sports 640 in Miami. You can follow Andy on Twitter at Andy Slater. NFL training camps open tomorrow. We knew this was going to happen, but when it did, Mark, it eliminated what really was a positive sports week. I mean, from Monday right on through, good vibes with baseball. People were watching. There was some good coronavirus news in a lot of places. Yeah, Michigan State and Rutgers kind of pumped the brakes, but they've got time to do that. And then, wham.
Well, we had, again, this is the one thing. From March on, David, you and I have said, okay, guys are going to get it. What are we going to do? And we still don't really seem to have, we have protocols, but we have so many different steps, and baseball's running into that, and football will run into that all week.
When Peter Bush of NBC2, Mark, a week ago today, told us locally that, hey, I contracted the coronavirus. But one of the things that he revealed was he was able to take a test and know the results in 20 minutes. Well, if Peter Bush and NBC2 and Waterman Broadcasting, if they can make those arrangements and pay for it, I mean, tests aren't cheap, $100, $120, $130 a test, whatever it is. But they said, hey, we work in close quarters with one another. It's the only way we can do our jobs is if we have a testing procedure like this. Well, for goodness sakes. I mean, these pro sports leagues, seriously, they got to pay people to have the testing people with them. with them. Hey, you get a test. John, Mike, get the test ready. Okay, these 3 guys need to get tested.
David, it's as simple as after the games, I don't even think you can get in the shower until you're tested and have a result. Okay? I mean, let's get this right down. We stand in line. I had it done, David. They prick your finger. It's a blood test.
The NFL, by the way, is testing everybody every day for the first 2 weeks of training camp.
Yes, but if they're not getting the tests back immediately, we're wasting 2 days.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks to Andy Slater of the Andy Slater Show. Follow him on Twitter at Andy Slater. Thanks for being with us on this Monday morning. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
You can't watch baseball while driving. Mowing, running, walking, fishing, golfing, or while doing anything else you like to do while on the go. And this year, you can't even watch baseball in a ballpark, but you can see the game.
Yeah, I messed with that image last night for 10 minutes. I did it again today. I don't know. OBS sucks, first and foremost. Let's just get that right out there. It sucks. But it is what it is.
These are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment of bad news, and
when you're using basically free stuff off the internet, beggars can't be choosers.
During these stressful times, your mood is so critical, and nothing's more important to a guy's mood than testosterone. The single greatest issue for guys with low T is mood, and the single greatest change for men that get low T care is a greatly improved mood. Many are grumpy when they start, and most can't believe how much their mood improves once they get treated. And everything improves once your mood improves. Feel the difference C4MH.com can make in your life. I've been a patient of C4MH.com for a couple of years, and recently I've lost 20 pounds because now I have the energy to work out from home. And that'll put you in a good mood, too. C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and all safe. And with locations all up and down Florida, there's one near you right now. Find out more. Go to C4MH.com.
Looking for a frameless shower door? My Shower Door has just opened their 8th Florida showroom, and it's conveniently located.
I'm reading good, bad, and ugly stories.
With more than 75,000 frameless shower doors installed, no one has more experience and 5-star reviews than My Shower Door. We've been named #1 by readers of the News Press and Naples News.
This is great. This can't be a bad or an ugly. It's too cute.
Manufacturer of the year. Want to see more? Go to myShowerDoor.com.
Dial star 2020. Friends Eye Care.
Cataract surgery has become so advanced that patients can literally design their vision to meet their individual lifestyle needs. Imagine life without cataracts and being able to see clearly without glasses or contacts. Dr. Jonathan France and his team of highly skilled specialists at France Eye Care bringing you state-of-the-art technology through the light adjustable lens. This lens, made of a special photosensitive material, allows prescription adjustments to be made after cataract surgery in order to optimize your vision. Experience a lens designed for the unique individual nature of your eyes. It's lights on after cataract surgery with a light adjustable lens. Call France Eye Care today to find out if you qualify and see your future in 2020. Dial star 2020 from your cell phone or call 239-418-0999.
Friends Eye Care.
Twitter. Follow Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio on Twitter.
Yeah.
Follow us at Fox Sports SWFL.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floormeisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Cortec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Cortec in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $2.99.
So this could be a show, David. This is like your Take Shade the Kids for the pro baseball career show. Tom Cook and Joseph Freeney shook hands in 1992. That could be a show right there.
Totally agree.
That's a poll question tomorrow, I think. Yep. Or Wednesday. I know we got Pat tomorrow, but that's. I'm just leaving. I'm leaving that up. We'll get to that tomorrow. There's a tease for those of you in the Twitch chat room. You get nothing other than that until tomorrow.
Or go online 4meisters.com. That's 4meisters.
Now, you may have already heard the story,
but you may not have.
Right.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Is your
So
pool
there.
designed to operate? Automation is the
I'm in search of an ugly because Giro's uglies are all nice.
free on-site
I need something stuffed in an orifice. I need something bad to happen.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
"26 minutes past the hour as we head for home on this final Monday of July in 2020. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and twitch.tv channels. Chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Text or call in at 479-5551. Our poll question today: if you didn't know it beforehand, you may have noticed it this weekend. Major League Baseball has changed how they approach extra innings. Once we get to the top of the 10th, they put a runner on second with nobody out, and they say, okay, boys, play it out from here. Initial reaction to it was not good. Okay, fine, but which would you rather have? What they're doing in 2020? We just call it a tie after 9 innings, or we call it a tie after 11 innings. And the reason we didn't give you a choice about, just playing it out as usual is Major League Baseball clearly wasn't going to allow for that.
And it looks as if they don't want that going forward. I mean, that's the biggest thing here. And I think David has been on to something with this, with the quirky rules and what they're doing, is that this is Manfred's MO to continue to make more changes to the game, to tweak the game. And, Seth answered us on Twitter with the question. We had quite a few people actually answer the question. And he says, these are all unnecessary. No one complained about extra innings. It's the 9 slow innings that's the issue. So these plans are so misguided. And I think Seth is right to a large degree. We have about 1 in 11 games that go to extra innings. It happens very infrequently. The pace of play has to do with 1 through 9, not 10 plus. But what I think Manfred can do, you put in a quirky second base rule, you put a tie in, you do something, it changes the narrative of what we're talking about. And whether it's positive or negative, they're not talking about pace of play. They're talking about baseball being what, David? Innovative.
Now, Seth, for the record, I have complained about extra innings for a long time. Now, I have been virtually alone, but I have always felt it was ridiculous to have the 15, 16, 18-inning game. And all of a sudden, we had a season, it was like 3 seasons ago. The Red Sox and the Orioles, like 4th game of the year, played a 19-inning game. And literally, they both blew out their pitching staffs. They're both making 7 roster moves a week into the season because they can't use half their bullpen for the next 3 days. And I always thought that that's absurd. We don't do it. Now, it could happen in the NBA. They play 5-minute overtimes. In theory, I guess you could end up playing 6, 7, 1. You had the one Big East game of, I think it was 2009. Maybe it was longer
in the
than
tournament.
That. Syracuse, UConn played the 6 overtime game at the Garden. Yeah, okay. But then again, it was a Big East tournament game.
It was a Big East tournament. That doesn't count. No offense here, David. Big East tournaments, playoffs, and that type of stuff, those don't even count.
But, regular season, in basketball, it can happen. They just put a time limit on it. They play 5 minutes, it's tied, they play another 5. In theory, you could play 4 or 5 overtimes. It is true. All right. But, if you play 4 overtimes, it's still the equivalent of an extra half of a game. So, but hockey limits it to 5 minutes. The NFL limits it to 10 minutes. I don't like the college football overtime where you could play 6, 7 quarters, and about every 5 years we have one of those games go 6, 7 extra quarters. You can't.
Well, not to mention for the statistics that come in with the college football thing. That's just they count the touchdowns, and then you're doing a Heisman race, and some guy's got an obscene amount of touchdowns because he threw 15 in an overtime game.
Right. Plus offensive and defensive stats and all those. Well, they're number one in offense. Yeah, well, they played a 7 overtime game. They get to throw an extra 300 yards up on the board that basically didn't count. But I was one that always complained about extra innings. If you think about it, Mark, if you're running a sport, don't you want your audience to know when the game is going to end?
It's my wife's number one complaint about soccer. Literally, she doesn't really like it or dislike it, but I have it on, and every once in a while she'll sit there, and she looks at me and she goes, "So when's it going to end?" I said, "Well, when they get to 90 minutes, and then they'll have extra time." "How much extra time?" "I don't know." "When does the extra time end?" "Whenever they decide that it does."
Right.
And she's like, "Okay, so you don't know when it ends, do you?" And it drives her crazy. And I know it's close and it's not necessarily the same comparison, but what Chad did say on Twitter to me, David, and he only replied to me on this one, was the 42% that voted for either tie is bananas. So you want to sit there for 3 hours with no result? That's the same criticism we give soccer.
Chad, do you have a problem with it in the NFL? No, literally nobody complains about ties in the NFL. Nobody. 4 people complain about a tie in the NFL. But you're going to bitch about it in baseball. I'm sorry. That's an anti-baseball sentiment. I mean, let's just own your bias. I mean, let's be honest. Own your bias. We play 16 games in the NFL, and we allow for ties. We play 162 in baseball. We got to play them all out? Really? Come on. We can't put a limit on how long we play? 11, 12 innings. Pick one. But everybody knows when they come to the ballpark, this is how long the game can go. Players know it. Managers know it. Umpires know it. TV audience knows it. Let's face it. Why do we play these games? We play them for attendance and TV attendance. That's why we play these games. And, Mark, if you knew you're watching a baseball game and it's 10 o'clock and you're tired and you got to get up early in the morning. But if you knew, hey, the most they can play is 2 more innings, then okay. I mean, listen, you and I love our hockey. We do. And we're into playoff hockey, and you and I kind of have an edict and like we don't go to bed. You either have to go to bed before they drop the puck on the first overtime, or you've got to take a blood oath. You are following this thing to the end. It could be Penguins, Flyers, 5 overtimes. You know what? I said I'm in. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm in. And you and I joke with one another. We send each other texts as they're heading to overtime. Are you in or not?
Yeah, and I mean, first off, I am so giddy about the NHL starting, I can't contain myself. I don't know. You know, NASCAR got me through till baseball. I didn't watch the NASCAR race on Wednesday. Their schedules, I'm going to have to seek them out, which is hard because NASCAR was Sunday. And I love the fact that they've been innovative, and I'm not going to knock them for doing weekday races, but now I've got to pay attention. I have to listen to the starting 5. And that in and of itself is a bit discouraging. But baseball grabbed my attention this weekend, and it grabbed it fully. It had me. Now, hockey's going to start. I could see baseball still getting some coverage, but these hockey playoffs are fascinating to me, and I love the hockey playoffs.
Hockey begins Saturday, for those of you that don't
and
know.
It's NBA going late.
Thursday.
These Edmonton games are starting at 10:30, David. We're in trouble.
Oh, there's no doubt. NBCSN can be broadcasting all damn day.
We are in trouble. So that's I will say we did get this text. First off at 7:51, LOL, didn't realize you had a new text number. I responded, LOL, how many texts did you send to the other number, and welcome back, to which he replied a few. My work schedule changed, so I haven't been listening as much. I just figured I wasn't interesting enough to respond to. By the way, I hate the new extra innings format. The purist in me wants to vomit, but I can deal with it this year with everything going on.
Good response early, and the question's only been posted for about an hour. 53% are okay with the 2020 runner on second rule. So that to me is interesting, Mark. Basically, it's 53% that will go along with Manfred, but 47% would prefer a tie. Now, only 8% want the tie after 9 innings. 39% are like, can you at least give me some extra innings? But really, if it's tie versus gimmick winning 53-47 right now, if you look at it that way. Gimmick with around 52 to 55% in early voting.
Did get this text as you went NFL with ties. Lions fans would kill for a tie. You know, if the Lions could go 0-16, I think the Lion fan would sign up for that.
Boy, I'll tell you, you'd miss a playoff spot by a game.
Maybe.
Because that would count as 8-8.
Maybe. Depends on the year.
Win. Yeah, that's true.
Depends on the year.
Well, especially now with the 7 teams in each conference. Who knows? 0-16 might get you the 7th seed. Who knows? Head to the playoffs. We haven't lost a game yet. Us and the 72 Dolphins and the 07 Patriots.
Right.
Yep. Haven't lost a game.
Haven't won one either.
We'll leave that out. 479-5551, 479-5551 is our new text line. And by new, we mean about a year and a half at the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Welcome back, sir.
But I think it's terrific because I can see every once in a while, because I've done a very good job of responding to texters in this act.
Yes, you're channeling your inner Moulton.
I am.
Congratulations.
I am. And I can see someone listening to the show going, well, he's talking about replying to all these texts and how good he is. And he hasn't even said a damn. What am I not interesting? Am I a jerk?
And then what they end up concluding? Those guys are a bunch of jerks.
That's it. That's exactly. And I have one guy who sends these texts in his own form of shorthand, and I don't understand them. I don't. They're just hodgepodge. I've read them to you. I have said to him, sir, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And he just keeps sending the hodgepodge to me.
Can you translate your pig Latin for me? It's not working.
I mean, sometimes I get part of it, but never the whole thing.
Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Justin Verlander, don't know if he's out for the year or not. By the way, Mark, let's just say Verlander, first off, he's going to miss August. I mean, if you think about it, they're shutting him down for 2 weeks and then they're going to examine him. I guess it's possible if all goes well, he could start back up, might take another 10 to 14 days to ramp up and be ready to go. So maybe he's ready by, I don't know, the week of August 24th. But I mean, if you're the Astros, you got 2 months left in the season. Today's July 27th. The season ends on September 27th. And if the best case scenario, Verlander, your number one starter, is going to miss half of the regular season. But if you're Houston, are you still in the all-in mode? You've taken 3 big runs at this. You've gone to 2 World Series and 3 consecutive LCSs. Are you still in all-in mode? Because if so, Mark, then you're making a deal.
I would bet on them making a deal. I think that there's something about this year, what's happened, and a group of guys who get the opportunity to stick it to baseball and are not going to face any of what would have been a really hard year, even though there's only a handful of guys that are still there. This would have been the most difficult year on the road for any team that we can imagine in our lifetimes.
Yes.
This is every game being Duke on the road in a hostile environment.
Yeah, this was LeBron the year he went to the Heat.
Yes. David, that's actually a great example. That's the last time we've had a team that basically wore the black hat for the whole year. The Miami Heat, year one, were, and I don't even know if they were completely despised the way the Astros were, because there are so many people that just love LeBron. You know, outside of Cleveland, not everybody hated LeBron for leaving. He was not liked, David, but you remember, basketball fans like the player. They don't necessarily always give a damn about the story, and he's so good, I don't even think he had the hatred that the Astros would have, but it is certainly the most comparable thing. And now they have nothing, and they're still a pretty damn good baseball team, oh, by the way.
Yeah, But think about it. They lost Garrett Cole to free agency, and if Verlander's out, Greinke's their ace, where just a year ago in the playoffs, he was their number 3.
But I think they make a move. You'll know very quickly if Justin Verlander's able to come back by the end of August. Because then they're making a move, David.
2 things. One, how many people in baseball privately, because no one's going to say it publicly. They may say it and don't use my name, but how many people in baseball cheered when they heard the news yesterday? Because there's a lot of people in the sport that feel that the Astros, A, got a very light punishment, and B, now in the coronavirus year, they're not going to face the wrath on the road that they were otherwise going to face.
And see, David, Verlander has been very hypocritical of the way he has attacked, and I'm a huge Justin Verlander fan, but the way he has attacked anybody that cheated, attacked people stealing signs, and then goes and plays for that team and has been virtually silent. There are people yesterday that went, boy, Justin, karma's a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah, there are a lot of people in baseball that said, well, I guess there's still such a thing as the baseball gods. Okay, we thought that they were catching all the breaks with the coronavirus, and maybe in this shortened year to lose Verlander. And here's the other thing. New general manager, new manager. So in theory, it's different people making the phone calls and dealing with other teams. But, Mark, do you think teams are in a hurry to help the Houston Astros? I mean, we debated in the first part of the show, did the Seahawks give up too much for Jamal Adams? When the Astros come calling around looking for a pitcher, don't you think the rest of baseball's like, well, for the 28 other teams, I'd do that deal. But for you got to throw a little bit more on top. I mean, do you think that's possible? Whether they say it to them or not.
I think that it's for sure.
They say it?
For sure possible for a minimum of 22 teams. There are 7 teams, however, that have relationships that it wouldn't apply. But I think over 75% of the league, David, or right around 75% of the league would be like, I'm going to need something else.
And they may not say it to them that way, but they may in their own in-house meeting say, well, this is what I would accept, except for the Astros. They'll have to throw a little more on top.
Yep.
Just throwing that out there. Jamal Adams, a Seahawk. Training camp opens tomorrow. Players going to get tested every day for 2 weeks. If the positivity rate is 5% or below, then they'll do testing. I believe it's every other day. If it's above 5%, then they'll keep testing them every day. I got to be honest, I don't know why they're just not testing them the whole time. I mean, it's a $11 billion. Actually, it's a $15 billion industry. I'm sorry, I got my industries confused. That's baseball's $11 billion. The NFL is a $14 to $15 billion industry. Now, it may not be this year, obviously, because we're going to have very few fans at the games. But you know what I'm getting at. Come on, guys. I mean, you can't pony whatever it costs. Just do it. And the NBA spending $150 to $160 million creating this bubble. I mean, they're not skimping out here. They're doing what they got to do to get through this.
Except for you can't get a good chicken wing.
Right, unless you go to a strip club.
You've got to go to the Magic City in Atlanta, apparently, for chicken wings.
Right. That's the Lou Williams story, in case you missed it. He left quarantine because he had a death in the family on the way home from the funeral. Well, he just happened to stop in Atlanta. Went to a strip club.
Some breasts, some wings, and some thighs.
Right, but the wings were chicken wings.
Correct.
Just for the record.
Right.
That was the excuse. He went there for the wings. All right. Ellie Duncan took to Twitter and actually said, if you've been to the strip clubs in Atlanta, there are 1 or 2 in which you actually would go for the wings.
There are a lot of people. Memphis Tom and our Johnny Manziel on Twitter, and there have been several people in the last 24 hours that have reached out that say the Magic City wings are fantastic.
Right. They are actually trying to defend Lou Williams because, needless to say, it sounds hysterical.
Post-coronavirus, my next stop in Atlanta, I will do, for you, our audience, I will sacrifice having my wife not talk to me for a week, but I will stop in Magic City to sample the wings.
Mark, if we go to Atlanta or to Athens ever again.
Right.
All right. Can we go? But on our way, we'll get T-shirts made so that when we stop at the strip club. We walk in with T-shirts that say, "I'm here for the wings." We would take a Twitter picture, okay, and then we can leave. What do you say?
Outside of the T-shirts, I'm good. I don't need to wear a T-shirt.
Come on.
I don't even know where the hell that came from. Let's get some T-shirts made. Hey, how about we all go to the family reunion with the same shirt on, too? You know what? Let's stop at Disney. We can get Thing 1 and Thing 2 and wear those shirts. Maybe we could get a jersey of our favorite player and wear that.
Okay. I'll wear the shirt then. Fine. I'm here for the wings.
You can't even eat them.
Would be the reason why I'm there.
Right. You can't even eat them.
Yep. Listen, there's nothing here I can have. I can't have you young ladies, and I can't have the wings. Nothing. There's nothing here I can have. I turn into Costanza. I turn around. What am I doing here? Miller and Moulton. The good, the bad, and the wing eating at a strip club in Atlanta ugly. Coming up next here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick.
Funny, I had wings for dinner last night.
On the program. I had an NFL scout who said...
And I don't know if I'll be going back to that place anytime soon for to-go. Because that was Corona Alley. I was freaking out waiting for my to-go. No one on the staff wearing their mask right. People at the bar sitting next to each other. About 20, 30 people all gathered in one corner of the place. Woo! Been to 2 places here or 3 places now that I won't go near until this is done. In other places, I have no issue. I think they're doing everything right, if you know what I mean.
27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is DR Martineau.
It has never happened before and may never happen again. $1 million in credit stimulus at Galliana Kia in Fort Myers. We've teamed up with the most forgiving lenders in America to get everyone approved for the new car they really want. If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000
Are you paying attention?
For new 2020 Kia Sportage.
Are you paying attention to this whole Keenan Allen and the wide receivers little Twitter spat that's going on? So I guess, I don't know, there's some list that came out, top 100.
Oh, yeah.
And Keenan Allen's not happy with where he's ranked, and so he takes to Twitter and says that Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Tyreek Hill are not better than him. Okay, but he spells Chris Godwin Chris Goodwin. All right, so Evans and him are going back and forth in a Twitter spat, but Chris Godwin sees it and goes, "Oh, shit, LOL, don't sweat it, G. Chris Goodwin ain't better than me either."
I think this might be Chris Sims's list. I'm not positive because he's come out with a couple of lists, and every time he is just clickbait. Every time he has a list, people go bananas.
Spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos.
And I think he's just trying to make sure he stays relevant.
Try the new spicy Western bacon cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary. Hardee's presents the Southwest omelet, biscuit, and burrito. Wanted in 42 states on charges of bringing a sweat to the brow of breakfast lovers with low spice tolerance. We start with a made-from-scratch biscuit. And then we add a fluffy omelet full of melted cheese, crispy bacon, and spicy jalapenos. And if you're feeling extra wild, you can get it all wrapped up in a burrito. The Southwest omelet, biscuit, and burrito are back.
You know, Eric Reed's still a free agent.
Okay, so this story I have I'm not going to bother because it's a little too hard to explain. For the good, the bad, and the ugly, it's about a guy in Australia that ran a border checkpoint. So basically, they have like, if I'm reading this right, they have checkpoints like inside whatever state or however they divide up. You know, if they're, I don't know.
Australia?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was on the wrong side of the barrier highway, but he was at the border checkpoint. So as I go through the story, police said the man was a non-essential traveler who had returned from SA to New South Wales. and was required to quarantine. He was charged with failing to comply with the quarantine. I mean, so basically, they're having police checkpoint. I mean, think about that. You're crossing the border from Georgia to Florida. Well, I guess in this case, it would be you're crossing the Mason-Dixon line. Because we wouldn't have to bother in this state with Georgia. We just open the borders. But you know what I mean? You're going from Nevada to California. Sorry. You're not essential travel. Turn around.
So in other words, it's like trying to go to Canada.
But it's inside their own country.
Right.
That's fascinating. John Oliver did a great story last night on, is it the Xinjiang province of China where all of the terrible
thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
Prepare yourself.
Really good story.
Hide the women and children.
Sure, it was very uplifting.
Well, they always are.
Good, bad, and ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
For the good today, we go to Ohio, where Wes Mobley has been out of work for 10 weeks. He's an IT guy, hasn't had a paycheck since. Phone's been turned off. The money he has, he puts on the table for his twin 5-year-old daughters. And when the knock on the door came from the landlord, he thought he was getting kicked out because he has not paid rent in 2 months. That's when Ellery Lewis, the landlord, said, no, you can stay. We'll figure it out. Here's $100. Go get some food for your family.
Nice.
Absolutely. For the bad, this is, I'm going to make it the ugly because it's so fun. For the bad, let's go to L.A., where every day I've told you, I watch at least one video of people masked up or not masked up losing their minds on someone. It entertains me. I'm a sick, twisted human being. And these, just like the guy on Costco here locally who did make the John Oliver show last night. Good for you. Congratulations.
Right. Well
just
done.
a still. They didn't show the video, but they basically do a mask thing. It says, or you could be this guy screaming at a Costco and a picture of him up. So welcome to the national scene once again. But this is at Ralph's grocery store in L.A., where an unmasked man started to ram his cart into an employee after she asked the man to wear a mask or leave. In response, the employee pepper sprayed him and then called the police.
Oh, snap.
Witnesses say the employee was just protecting herself. Ralph's did suspend her for 5 days for not following company guidelines on responding to customers not wearing a face covering.
Wait a minute.
And following de-escalation procedures. So apparently when struck, Ralph's, the Bible, or at least the New Testament of grocery stores, says simply, when you're run over by a cart, turn the other cheek.
So pepper spraying the customer is
No,
not
5 days.
Gotcha.
Strip joint in Atlanta will get you 10 in the bubble.
Quarantine, right. Right.
And this is really not that ugly. It's really fantastic unless you are on the other end of it. Breakups are tough on everybody. And you have to at least appreciate people that have a little bit of a sense of humor. A young man in Australia was dumped. And instead of flowers or a poem or maybe serenading her with a Peter Gabriel song, he put posters up around town asking people to phone his ex-girlfriend and pretend to be Chewbacca. He claimed that the person who gave the best impression would win $100 as an incentive to get the phone ringing, and his ex, Jessica, said, I'm getting phone calls at really strange hours of the night, about 1 o'clock to 4 a.m. She did admit, however, I thought it was actually funny. I thought it was a good joke. She did end the relationship after she found her ex messaging other women on Facebook. Now, she does have kids, and thought it was funny at first, but now has had enough.
Right. By the way, Chewbacca at the end there sounded like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, everything does when I do some sort of animal imitation because, well, right. Scooby-Doo's fun. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly here on July the 27th. As you pointed out, the final Monday of the month and the final Monday before we go on vacation.
That's right. We'll be off next week, the first full week of August. NFL training camps open up tomorrow, but there's not going to be any football for like 3 weeks.
No, they're going to run and play 6 feet away from the other guy.
It's conditioning basically for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and they're going to test everybody every day, and then they're going to see where they're at the week of like August 10th.
Right. You're better off watching NBA TV to catch live scrimmages.
I mean, I'd rather watch extra innings of a baseball game, honestly.
I've watched a live scrimmage.
What?
Yeah.
Of the NBA?
Yeah, Houston and somebody were on the other day. I stopped and watched for about 5 minutes.
Why?
I just felt like it. Sports is on television. Makes me happy.
It was during the afternoon.
1 minute.
It was.
You're such a sucker for sports during the day. I mean, you really are. You should have grown up a Cubs fan.
I did. I used to run home in 7th grade so I could watch Harry Carey, the Ryan Sandberg, Bull Durham years. Man, come on.
Leon Durham.
Loved him.
Well, and Cubs fans did too until that ball went through his legs in Game 5 of the LCS.
I mean, I've said it a million times. I thought in '84 I was going to see the Tigers and the Cubs. I knew I was going to a game. I was so bummed out when the Padres beat them.
Yeah, so did the Cubs. They were up 2-0 in a best of 5.
And I knew I had Game 3 seats either way.
Not only that, they had Sutcliffe going in Game 5. He was 17-1 in the games he had pitched. Yeah.
Boy, if Buter's listening right now, this is not starting out his day on the right note.
At least they won it all in 2016. Otherwise, the text we'd be getting would be vicious.
Dan Patrick Show is next. Thanks so much for listening. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio.
For over 20 years, the Good Feet store has been helping people with foot
All right,
pain
you
get
guys
back
enjoy
to
the
doing
rest
what
of your
they
day.
love
I'll be here
without their
tomorrow.
feet getting
Sounds
injured.
like a plan, Giro.
Thank you, Giro.
Good Feet store in Naples or our newest location in Fort Myers.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Juan. And go Braves, Juan. I'm with you. I'm rooting for your Braves. They're one of the teams I'm in on this year.
Right.
Because we're going to keep getting Melanson all season long. That's one of the other reasons. But